The black-haired man firmly asserts that he is unlike her previous husbands. With blood on her face, Agatha questions if he only needs her status as a novilis. The man bluntly denies her assumption, his expression unreadable as he stands over her. Agatha reacts with stunned silence to his unexpected rejection of her theory. He demands clarification on her words while she remains fallen on the floor of the debris-strewn hall. Clang! He turns his back and discards his bloodied weapon, letting it fall with a sharp metallic ring. Reaching out a blood-flecked hand, the man pleads with her to stop driving him to madness. The Roxbad Empire is home to a family of unimaginable wealth and international influence. A blonde baby sleeps peacefully, unaware of the heavy legacy she carries. The child is identified as Agatha Novilis, the scion of a powerful house. At only 5 years old, the orphaned Agatha is forced into a political marriage with Duke Progus. Noblemen gossip about the young girl's golden blood being more important than her age. Her first marriage ends after the Duke is crippled during a violent gambling dispute. By age 10, Agatha is traded again to secure succession rights for the ambitious emperor. Her second husband is Fernand Mainum Conti, a handsome but morally bankrupt young man. Fernand's licentious lifestyle, full of concubines and illegitimate children, overshadows their union. This second marriage inevitably shatters, leaving Agatha alone once more. War erupts as the emperor seeks to expand his territory and seize a new port. Agatha is then wed to George Fortis, a powerful knight plagued by a deep-seated inferiority complex. George's insecurity leads him to constantly pick fights with his young wife. Fed up with being a pawn, Agatha decides to choose her own husband from now on. At 16, Agatha prepares to take control of her own destiny. The emperor reluctantly grants her the freedom to manage her future marriages. For the first time in over a decade, Agatha stands tall with the right to choose her path. Facing a barrage of assassination attempts, Agatha realizes she must quickly find a protector through remarriage. Her fourth husband professes a love so intense it feels suffocating. Agatha pauses in a grand hallway, perhaps sensing a new shift in her turbulent life. The fourth husband reveals his true, murderous intent to seize the novilis power for himself. Their wedding appears idyllic on the surface, but a dark secret looms over their union. The emperor is enraged to learn the husband is impotent and cannot secure the family line. Another catastrophic end follows as the emperor demands an immediate divorce for the sake of the empire. Agatha considers marrying into a family so wealthy that her safety would finally be guaranteed. She enters a fifth marriage with Theodore, a man noted for his gentlemanly and scholarly appearance. Agatha strides purposefully through the estate, ready to confront the issues in her new home. Theodore looks up from his work, surprised by his wife's sudden and serious arrival. Unable to bear the situation any longer, Agatha confronts him with a stern demand. She orders Theodore to immediately remove his mother, grandmother, and sister from their home. Agatha warns him to choose his next words very carefully as he stammers in shock. A firm hand is placed on the desk, emphasizing her resolve in this family dispute. She recalls how his family constantly harassed and belittled her throughout their marriage. The female relatives had relentlessly mocked her appearance and her history of multiple divorces. Their cruelty was unwavering, as they treated her with nothing but disdain and open hostility. Agatha reaches her breaking point, deciding she can no longer endure their verbal abuse. Theodore refuses to send his family away, leaving Agatha to suffer their presence. He looks increasingly nervous as the tension between them reaches a boiling point. Agatha offers a cryptic, beautiful smile that masks her true intentions. She remains composed, sipping tea while the world around her gossips. At a tea party, the ladies discuss the triumphant return of the young Aratus. The young commander, Aratus, ended the war at 20 and now stands as a legend. High society buzzes with rumors of the ruthless purge he conducted upon reaching home. Agatha reflects on how Aratus has diverted attention from her divorce by cleaning up her ex-husband's mess. At a tea party, ladies gossip about the Aratus family's dire financial state despite their legendary war glory. When questioned, Agatha admits she still hasn't secured a protector, despite the looming threats to her safety. A companion suggests hiring the Aratus Knights, noting the once mighty family is now down to just 2 members. The proud Aratus family crest glows, symbolizing a lineage that would die for honor, but faces financial ruin. Agatha contemplates the rumors that the Aratus coffers are nearly empty, sensing a perfect potential opportunity for her. She realizes that without a husband, she desperately needs a loyal order of knights to serve as her shield. A resolute look crosses Agatha's face as she decides her next move in this dangerous social game. The Grand Aratus estate stands as a silent witness to a family legacy currently teetering on bankruptcy. With a quick tock sounding, a frantic messenger named Conrad sprints through the manor with an urgent scroll. Conrad reaches the courtyard, his boots hitting the floor with a loud tack as he finds his master. The dark-haired Marquis Aratus turns toward the shouting man, his expression sharp and alert for incoming trouble. Aratus asks for the reason for the commotion while Conrad struggles to catch his breath. Shaking with adrenaline, Conrad presents the document and asks if the Marquis can guess the shocking news. Conrad yells that Agatha Nobilis has requested an escort from their family, sparking immediate disbelief. They discuss their desperate finances, noting their food supplies might not even last another week at this rate. Conrad insists this job is their salvation, his face lighting up with the hope of saving their house. Overwhelmed by the possibility of survival, the young man breaks down into tears of sheer relief. With a desperate grip sounding, Conrad clings to the Marquis's leg, begging him to accept the job. While the butler comforts the sobbing Conrad, Aratus remains skeptical of the high-profile request from the notorious heiress. Aratus stares intensely, reflecting on how impossible it would be for anyone to ignore Agatha Nobilis's reputation. Conrad excitedly points out Agatha's history of 6 divorces, viewing her high-ranking marriages as proof of immense power. They discuss her elite social ties, including her godfather, the Emperor, and her childhood friend, the Crown Prince. Conrad urges his lord to strike while the iron is hot, but Aratus remains wary of the trap. The Marquis calculates her age and considers the weight of the political marriages she has already survived. Aratus recalls the tragedies surrounding her past unions as the scene shifts to a somber graveyard memory. A memory of Agatha in her wedding finery highlights the lonely burden she has carried since her youth. Aratus acknowledges she is the sole direct bloodline of the Nobilis family, making her life incredibly valuable. He ponders why the Emperor is so concerned with her heir as he walks through the palace halls. Imperial law states that a direct female heir's child is the rightful successor to the family legacy. As long as Agatha lives, the right of succession is safe from the greedy collateral branches of her house. Aratus realizes that since she is only the heiress, she lacks the authority to command her own knights. Sitting at his desk, the Marquis decides he cannot accept such a sensitive escort mission without careful thought. Conrad presents a final financial report, his silence speaking volumes about the family's impending bankruptcy. The young man's tear-filled eyes plead with the Marquis to save their noble house from total ruin. A weary sigh escapes Aratus as he rubs his temple, pressured by the heavy weight of his responsibilities. The Marquis finally calls out for Ben, signaling that he has made a preliminary decision. He orders Ben to investigate Agatha Nobilis's true intentions before they commit to her request. Agatha's steady gaze hints at the hidden plans she is already setting into motion elsewhere. Agatha asks a servant about the Crown Prince, learning the lazy royal is still asleep in his chambers. A cold, knowing look passes over her face as she confirms her suspicions about the prince's habits. With a purposeful tap sounding from her heels, Agatha marches toward the royal bedchambers. She bursts into the room and demands the prince get up, ignoring his startled groans. The blonde crown prince rouses from his slumber, looking entirely unimpressed by her sudden intrusion. Agatha remains unmoved by his irritation, her expression hard as she prepares to lecture him. He scratches his head and asks if her news was truly important enough to wake him so early. Agatha frostily retorts that he should have been awake, but he warns her not to push her luck. The sun shines over a beautiful garden fountain, shifting the scene to a more peaceful environment. Dressed in his formal attire, the blonde prince strolls through the estate garden with a grim expression. Agatha sips her tea with perfect poise, waiting for the pieces of her plan to fall into place. Relaxing in the garden, the crown prince suggests hosting a hunt to entertain their guests. He curiously asks Agatha if the candidate she has in mind was agreeable to her proposal. Agatha nods slightly, expressing a firm desire to personally witness the man's renowned skills. A knowing smirk crosses the blonde prince's face as he contemplates her growing interest. With an enthusiastic shout, he promises to have the official invitations sent out immediately. The prince teases Agatha about her marriage history while a servant quietly serves them tea. She responds with a look of pure disdain, questioning if any man is truly worthy of her. Reviewing the Aratus documents, Agatha clarifies that her only current priority is finding a protector. Foreseeing danger, she rubs her temple and requests to borrow the prince's imperial knights. Night falls over the grand palace as a servant announces an urgent dispatch from the crown prince. Now dressed in green, Agatha receives the letter with a look of mild surprise. She carefully reviews the parchment, her eyes scanning the lines for any hidden meaning. A curious postscript at the bottom of the letter piques her interest and deepens her focus. While riding in her carriage, Agatha gazes out the window, lost in deep private thought. Memories of clashing steel serve as a grim reminder of the violence she must constantly avoid. Noble flags wave proudly against the sky, signaling the official start of the high-stakes hunt. On the day of the event, Agatha leads a procession of knights into the dense forest. Mounted on her white horse, her violet eyes remain alert for any signs of trouble. A knight informs her that while the prince is ahead, Marquis Aratus has yet to arrive. She thanks him, assuming the impatient prince simply couldn't wait to start the chase. The sound of hooves thrumming fills the quiet woods as the group continues their journey. Agatha suddenly freezes in place, sensing a shift in the atmosphere that suggests immediate danger. A sharp ping sounding rings out as a hidden projectile is deflected by a knight's sword. Panic flares as the commander orders his men into a defensive formation to protect the lady. A dark proclamation of an ambush confirms that Agatha has been lured into a deadly trap. Gripping the reins tightly, Agatha prepares herself for the violent confrontation she knew was coming. A cheerful purple-haired chibi appears, offering a brief moment of levity amidst the rising tension. The small character waves a friendly goodbye, signaling a transition back to the serious conflict. The Imperial Knights move with practiced precision, forming a wall of steel around their charge. Arrows rain down from the trees as the commander's warning of an ambush echoes through the air. He warns that the assassins are too numerous and yells for Agatha to hold on tight. Realizing they are pinned down, Agatha decides they must make a desperate attempt to break through. The horses gallop frantically as the group tries to outrun the deadly volley of arrows. A hooded assassin signals his hidden archers to open fire with lethal intent. A pained "gah" sounding erupts as an arrow finds its mark, striking Agatha's white horse. Her eyes widen in shock as she feels the animal buckle and start to collapse. Agatha is thrown violently to the ground as her wounded mount falls with a heavy crash. Gasping for air, she sits up in the dirt, disoriented by the sudden and brutal impact. Despite the blood dripping down her face, she commands her guards to focus on the enemy. The assassins surge forward to finish the job, while the knights desperately fight to hold them back. Panting and injured, Agatha's hand trembles as she reaches for the dagger hidden at her waist. Swords clash nearby as she searches the tree line, praying for a savior to arrive. With a look of fierce resolve, she draws her blade, refusing to be taken without a fight. The knight urges his men to hold the line, hoping the prince will hear the commotion. The lead assassin orders his men to ignore the guards and focus entirely on killing Agatha. She ducks low as a blade passes overhead with a sharp shick sounding through the air. The chaos of battle intensifies as the knights struggle to repel the relentless hooded attackers. Agatha wonders why her enemies are so desperate to end her life with such reckless speed. A massive shadow looms over her, and a sharp scritch sounding signals a new presence. She looks up with a start as a heavy thud sounding marks a dramatic turning point. An assassin draws a bow with lethal intent, while a wounded Agatha watches in frozen, bloodied terror. A sudden strike disrupts the archer's aim, sparing Agatha as she stares at the attacker in stunned disbelief. Agatha catches her breath, her eyes widening as the sounds of a new arrival fill the quiet forest. Through a cloud of dust and light, a group of mounted knights charges into the clearing to assist. A brilliant blue flag ripples in the wind, signaling the arrival of an unexpected and powerful noble house. The Heiress knights advance with precision, their presence immediately turning the tide of the desperate, violent battle. Agatha looks up in awe as the black-haired Marquis arrives, his steady gaze meeting hers through the chaos. Marquis Aratus looks forward with cold determination, his focus entirely on neutralizing the remaining hooded threats nearby. With a swift, commanding motion, Aratus orders his men to fall back and secure the immediate perimeter. Agatha watches in silence as a heavy presence looms, her mind struggling to process the sudden, miraculous rescue. The black-haired Marquis moves with lethal grace, his blade flashing as he cuts down the remaining attackers. The final assassin falls to the Marquis's superior skill, finally ending the treacherous ambush in the woods. Peaceful sunlight filters through the trees as the violence concludes, leaving a somber atmosphere over the forest. Approaching the injured woman, Marquis Aratus gently asks if she has sustained any serious or life-threatening harm. Agatha's heart beats with a loud badum sounding as she confirms her savior is Marquis Enoch Aratus. Kneeling before her, the Marquis formally greets Agatha, offering his protection and his service in this crisis. The Aratus Knights lead the procession back through the forest, ensuring Agatha's safety on the long journey. With a pained ugh sounding, Agatha feels the exhaustion of the battle finally catching up to her. Aratus reassures her that they are nearing safety, his steady presence providing her with a sense of relief. Agatha stares at the Marquis's profile, her expression softening with deep gratitude and a hint of interest. The blonde crown prince gallops toward them, his face pale with worry for his injured childhood friend. Agatha watches him approach, her mind still reeling from the violence she narrowly escaped just moments ago. The prince is horrified to see the blood on Agatha's face, his voice trembling with immediate, frantic concern. Fury replaces his fear as the prince realizes the audacity of those who dared to attack her. A royal servant interrupts to insist that they must tend to Agatha's wounds before anything else. After a thorough examination, the medic confirms Agatha is safe but will require significant rest to fully recover. The prince remains by Agatha's side, grateful she survived the day's treacherous events while she rests. Standing at a distance, the Marquis observes the royal reunion with a calm, stoic, and watchful expression. Aratus turns away from the scene, his duty fulfilled for now as the group prepares to depart. Peering through the carriage window, Agatha finds her gaze drawn once again to the enigmatic, black-haired Marquis. Aratus rides beside the carriage, his silent vigil a comforting reminder of his formidable skills and protection. A soft blush colors Agatha's cheeks as she reflects on the Marquis's bravery and his unexpected kindness. She continues to watch him, wondering if this man truly is the protector she has been seeking. The black-haired Marquis notices her attention, musing on the high stakes of her current and dangerous predicament. The morning light glints off his uniform as they continue their steady, guarded pace toward the capital. The royal procession moves across the open plains, headed for the safety and security of the palace. News of the ambush reaches the emperor, who slams his desk in a fit of righteous anger. The emperor rages at his council, questioning if he has been far too lenient with his enemies. A council member stands abruptly, demanding that the emperor take immediate action to crush the rebel group. The nobles echo the call for justice, outraged that someone dared to attack a protected noble lady. A tense silence falls over the room as the emperor contemplates a brutal response to the insult. His icy blue eyes narrow with a cold, vengeful light that promises no mercy for the traitors. The emperor bellows for his military and intelligence chiefs to assemble and prepare for an immediate hunt. His officials bow low, accepting the order to identify the masterminds and their hidden base of operations. Within the palace corridors, thoughts of Agatha's past marriages and divorces begin to resurface with heavy weight. With a weary who sounding, the emperor reflects on the necessity of securing Agatha's future once more. The blonde prince and Aratus stand before the throne, waiting for the emperor's final and decisive judgment. The prince dismisses the idea of a secret lover, focusing instead on the political danger ahead. He realizes that the emperor's next move will likely involve choosing Agatha's next protector and husband himself. The emperor strokes his beard, determined to personally select a match strong enough to protect his heir. The blonde prince nervously tells the emperor that Agatha will eventually decide her own future for herself. Standing beside the stoic Marquis, the prince looks increasingly annoyed as the weight of the situation sinks in. Observing the prince, the black-haired Marquis notes his obvious and deep affection for the noblewoman, Agatha Nobilis. Seated at his desk, the emperor reflects on the significant strategic gains for the Imperial Intelligence Division. A vision of Agatha's bloodied face appears, serving as a grim reminder of the violent ambush she survived. Watching through the carriage window, Agatha's expression is weary as she reflects on the recent near-death experience. The emperor commands Marquis Aratus for his service, while the prince and Marquis offer a formal salute. The black-haired Marquis strides through the palace grounds, drawing the curious and admiring gazes of nearby noblewomen. Leon Takran, commander of Aratus's first knights, salutes his lord with a look of serious and focused reporting. Marquis Aratus and his commander discuss the aftermath of the battle as they move through the busy palace. Aratus mounts his horse to depart, while a small purple-haired character offers a brief, playful interlude at the bottom. Leon muses that the Marquis's actions will likely spark another rumor that will shake the entire empire's foundations. Seeking quiet, Agatha sits at a garden table, enjoying a peaceful moment of tea and reflection in the sunlight. Her calm is broken by a sudden thought, her violet eyes widening as she looks up in alert surprise. The blonde crown prince approaches the table, his presence marked by a sense of urgency and lingering concern. He sits across from Agatha, noting that she has been bedridden and sick for 3 full days straight. With a heavy sigh, Agatha realizes she must move quickly if she hopes to marry according to her wishes. With a look of fierce resolve, she prepares to handle her potential marriage candidates with strategic and cold precision. Agatha considers the trade revenue implications, visualizing the wealth and resources at stake for the empire's future stability. She contemplates needing a secure base on an island to successfully expand her influence into the eastern continent. The prince leans forward, advising her that if she insists on a marriage of choice, she must have a backup. Agatha smiles warmly, telling the prince he must inform her once the exact list of candidates is decided. She begins writing at the table, admitting she did not expect the pressure to marry to come so soon. Her hand pauses while writing as the prince asks her directly if there is a man she likes. A soft blush colors Agatha's face as she looks away, clearly caught off guard by her own internal feelings. The prince notices her reaction and teases her, noting that there is at least someone on her mind. In a light-hearted moment, he laughs while recalling her past claim that no man was a proper match. Agatha ignores his teasing and continues writing with a small pout, while the prince looks on with mild frustration. The prince turns away with a dramatic motion, stating he will only provide the candidate list and nothing more. A maid approaches the table, presenting a pink sealed letter on a golden tray to the blonde noblewoman. Agatha prepares to receive her visitors, while the maid and another servant wait nearby in the sun-drenched garden. Looking down at the table, Agatha requests that the guests or messages be brought forward to her immediately. The crown prince prepares to take his leave, thanking Agatha for her efforts before heading back to his duties. The black-haired Marquis Aratus walks through the lush garden, his tall, elegant figure commanding attention as he approaches. Agatha turns her head, her expression one of quiet surprise as she notices the Marquis's arrival at the table. Aratus stands before her, his steady presence creating a moment of heavy silence as their eyes finally meet again. He looks down at Agatha with a calm, stoic expression, his focus entirely on the woman seated before him. A heavy ba-dum sounding thumps in Agatha's chest as she feels the intense weight of the Marquis's close proximity. They sit together at the garden table, the atmosphere thick with unspoken tension and significant political and personal stakes. With a soft rustle, Aratus unfolds the document, his sharp eyes scanning the names on Agatha's marriage candidate list. Agatha invites him to let her know if there is anything else he needs, her gaze fixed on him. She watches the Marquis as he sits with her, her mind reconsidering his role in her dangerous future predicament. Another heavy ba-dum sounding echoes her internal reaction to his presence, her focus drawn to his formal uniform. Marquis Aratus asks if she truly no longer requires his escorts given the news of her upcoming marriage. The black-haired Marquis looks at her thoughtfully, considering the possibility that he is already one of her suitors. His uniform and medals identify him as the Empire's greatest knight and a celebrated war hero of legend. A heavy ba-dum sounding marks Agatha's reaction as she remains silent, her mind reeling from the Marquis's words. She looks up with a start, her expression one of stunned realization as they continue their intense conversation. The Emperor stands in the garden, his authoritative presence signaling that more formal and decisive business is at hand. Agatha reflects on the situation, her expression hardening as she realizes things are moving far sooner than expected. The Emperor looks on with a contemplative and serious gaze, his golden hair catching the bright morning light. Agatha looks exhausted as several voices check on her health, asking if she feels any discomfort after her ordeal. Seeing her response, the Emperor expresses his sincere relief that she is safe and recovering from the recent ambush. As the Emperor turns, Agatha watches him, deeply moved by the genuine care and concern His Majesty shows her. Over a spread of sweets and tea, Agatha thanks him, identifying herself as the proud sole heiress of House Nobilis. The Emperor, Agatha, and Marquis Aratus sit together in the sun-drenched garden, the air heavy with formal political weight. The Emperor speaks of his lingering worries for Agatha's safety after the terrifying violence she recently survived. Agatha remains silent, gently rubbing her wrist as she contemplates the heavy responsibilities and dangers that lie ahead of her. A warm, bright smile lights up Agatha's face, signaling her resolve to move forward despite the lingering shadows of fear. The Emperor enthusiastically offers to arrange immediate meetings with potential suitors, while Agatha carefully addresses him. From behind the stoic Marquis, the scene captures the ongoing discussion at the garden table regarding Agatha's uncertain future. With a cheerful but firm smile, Agatha declares her intent to be the one who chooses her own future spouse. The Emperor accepts her condition with grace, and Agatha expresses her deep gratitude for His Majesty's kind consideration. A portrait of calm elegance, Agatha looks ahead with newfound determination, ready to face the challenges of her upcoming marriage. The Emperor looks satisfied, his expression softening as he respects Agatha's firm decision to control her own destiny. Granting her request, the Emperor tells her to proceed as she sees fit, allowing her the freedom she desires. Flanked by his royal guards, the Emperor departs the garden, leaving Agatha and the Marquis to their remaining business. As they are left alone, Marquis Aratus casts a lingering, observant glance at a slightly flustered Agatha. Agatha sighs with relief, the immense pressure of the Emperor's presence finally lifting as she takes a quiet breath. Turning back to business, Agatha asks the Marquis if they shall continue their own interrupted and important conversation. Marquis Aratus takes a document for further review, while a surprised Agatha asks if he is already departing her company. The black-haired Marquis looks down at her with a calm, unreadable expression as he prepares to take his leave. Agatha watches the tall, imposing figure of the Marquis walk away, her mind wandering back to their shared moments of danger. A sudden flashback of Aratus's gentle care during the ambush causes Agatha's once calm heart to stir with unexpected emotion. Blushing softly, Agatha touches her cheek, realizing that the Marquis has left a deeper impression on her than she realized. The scene shifts to the grand and imposing Aratus estate, the seat of power for the Empire's most formidable knight. Ben, a dark-haired servant, stands in the Marquis's office with a look of hesitation and professional concern. Surrounded by stacks of paperwork, Aratus sits at his desk while his servants attend to the endless imperial duties. Rubbing his temple, Aratus expresses his frustration, admitting he had hoped his initial guess about a certain matter was wrong. Ben presents a new scroll, explaining it contains introductions from numerous young ladies, all desperate to marry the celebrated Marquis. Aratus muses that facing a battlefield with a sword would be easier than dealing with these endless social obligations. A close-up of his tea reveals his exhaustion as he finds himself overwhelmed by the sheer number of introductions. Sipping his tea, Aratus reflects on his encounters with Agatha, noting that she feels different every time they meet. Memories of Agatha's tears and her radiant smile flicker through his mind, highlighting the complexity of her noble character. He wonders if she has truly recovered from her injuries, his thoughts lingering on her well-being despite his stoic exterior. Ben holds up a portrait of another potential bride as they continue to discuss the Marquise's own marriage prospects. Aratus shifts focus to security, ordering that a conspiracy be nipped in the bud while Ben compiles a list of traitors. The Marquis considers a marriage of convenience, while a small, purple-haired chibi character offers a playful greeting at the top. Dark, metaphorical imagery accompanies thoughts of rejecting alluring offers from those who do not truly need to be grasped. Agatha appears in a vision of blue and white, her expression cold and resolute as she prepares for political battle. Touching his chin, Aratus is reminded once again of the high stakes surrounding Agatha and the Empire's internal threats. Looking out his window, the Marquis reflects on the harsh reality that Agatha Nobilis would likely never choose him. Ben informs his master that the Council of Departed Spirits has convened, prompting Aratus to immediately prepare for departure. Before leaving, Aratus instructs Ben to include candidates for a political marriage on his own list once it is secured. Back at the palace, Agatha reviews a new list of prospective spouses provided by the Crown Prince and the Emperor. The document reveals scandalous details about a candidate, mentioning an official mistress, multiple affairs, and a gambling addiction. Agatha stares at the paper with cold eyes, deciding that such a man is absolutely unacceptable as a husband. Studying a map of the territory, Agatha realizes she needs an alternative base to avoid a marriage with Duke Citreville. She looks deeply troubled, realizing that securing her future and her family's influence will require a very difficult choice. Agatha decides to negotiate with Manicor, as her blonde-haired aide waits for her final decision on the marriage candidates. Agatha considers the high stakes of Crown Prince Ferdinand's potential response regarding their critical imperial negotiations. Though she wishes to avoid the outcome, Agatha realizes there is no other path forward for her territory. Haunted by stories of illegitimate children and past heartbreak, Agatha steels her resolve to force a negotiation. With a heavy sigh, she recognizes that her godfather's clever manipulations have finally cornered her into acting. Agatha orders her aide to investigate the terms for Manicor while preparing a separate list of marriage candidates. A soft rustle sounding accompanies Agatha as she reaches for research files containing detailed information on her suitors. Reviewing the dossiers, Agatha notes that the information gathered aligns perfectly with her cynical and defensive expectations. She notes with interest that Marquis Aratus maintains a clean reputation, lacking even a single official mistress. Agatha wonders if the war hero would ever consider a political arrangement so soon after returning home. A sudden announcement jolts Agatha as her aide reveals that Marquis Aratus has already arrived to see her. Agatha stands in her sunlit parlor, preparing herself for the monumental and tense conversation about to take place. Surrounded by a vibrant floral backdrop, Marquis Aratus makes a striking and formal appearance in Agatha's presence. Their eyes meet in a sharp moment of mutual assessment as the Marquis stands tall before her. Agatha politely invites the Marquis to sit, while a purple-haired chibi character watches the unfolding interaction. The atmosphere remains thick with formality as the two powerful figures begin their private and high-stakes meeting. Agatha finds herself momentarily flustered by the Marquis's unwavering and intense focus as he watches her. Masking her inner turmoil, the blonde noblewoman offers a pleasant and professional smile to her imposing guest. Agatha asks if rose tea is acceptable, to which the Marquis stoically replies that he has no preference. A small chibi version of the Marquis asks to place a tray of sweets on the table. Aratus pauses abruptly as he notices the marriage candidate documents spread out across the table before him. His expression remains unreadable and stoic as he processes the sight of Agatha's extensive list of potential suitors. Noticing his sudden and heavy stillness, Agatha asks with concern if anything is currently bothering the Marquis. Sipping her tea, Agatha observes him closely, curious why he hasn't mentioned the sensitive marriage documents yet. Aratus sits with his hands clasped, projecting an aura of immense calm and commanding imperial authority. The Marquis asks if that is the list of her 7th candidate, which Agatha confirms despite her offense. Agatha explains her rigorous investigation process, stating she has zero tolerance for certain character flaws in a spouse. Aratus shocks her by revealing that he has also looked into her background on occasion to be even. Agatha wonders if his research began during the recent incident when he first proposed acting as her escort. She asks if he is also occupied with marriage letters from numerous ladies lately while he drinks tea. Aratus admits he never intended to wed until a recent incident forced him to reconsider his life's direction. Agatha is baffled, racking her brain for any recent news or scandals involving the celebrated and stoic Marquis. The Marquis looks at her with a steady, determined gaze, preparing to deliver a life-changing proposal. In a stunning turn of events, Marquis Aratus directly asks Agatha to marry him in the quiet room. Agatha's eyes widen in absolute shock, her mind reeling from the Marquis' sudden and blunt marriage proposal. Stuttering in disbelief, Agatha clarifies his intent, to which the Marquis gives a firm and singular confirmation. Aratus explains that upon deciding to marry, he concluded that Agatha was the person who best met his criteria. He admits he originally dismissed the idea, assuming the likelihood of her accepting him was virtually non-existent. The Marquis waits for her reaction, his gaze never wavering from the blonde heiress as he explains himself. Agatha offers a soft, knowing smile as she begins to process the immense strategic value of his offer. Aratus hesitates for a split second, sensing the shift in the conversation's gravity following his bold request. Agatha reflects on traditional noble values like wealth, which she has always viewed with personal and professional indifference. She recognizes that court status and family standing were never the things she truly valued in her life. Testing his character, Agatha asks if he enjoys gambling, and the Marquis gives a firm negative response. She pushes further, asking if he has a secret lover, but he stoically denies any such hidden involvement. Agatha asks a dark, chilling question about his potential reaction to a child, catching Aratus off guard. With a forced smile, Agatha reveals that her 4th ex-husband was exactly that kind of cruel, violent man. Agatha blinks in surprise, asking the Marquis if there is truly nothing he desires from her in return. When she asks if he would listen to her requests, the Marquis sincerely promises to try his best. A heavy but dumb sounding echoes in Agatha's chest as she feels her heart race at his sudden earnestness. Turning back toward him, Agatha prepares to offer her final, decisive thoughts on this unexpected marriage proposal. Aratus gives a short, stoic confirmation as the high-stakes conversation in the parlor reaches its conclusion. A heavy silence settles over the room as Agatha and the Marquis sit in mutual assessment following his proposal. Agatha questions if the Marquis has anything more to add, catching the dark-haired man momentarily off guard. The Marquis briefly considers sharing more, but decides against saying anything potentially foolish to the blonde noblewoman. Agatha dismisses the idea of discussing personal feelings, deeming it ridiculous within the context of a political arrangement. Masking her pragmatism, Agatha offers a radiant and pleasant smile that fills the room with artificial warmth. Aratus pauses for a moment, his expression unreadable as he observes Agatha's sudden and brilliant change in demeanor. The Marquis dismisses Agatha's concern with a short reply as he stands to address her more formally. Kneeling before the blonde heiress, Aratus makes a singular, stern request for her to avoid associating with his relatives. Remaining on one knee, the Marquis maintains a solemn and intense focus on Agatha as they finalize their pact. Agatha accepts his condition, noting that her own formidable family background makes her a perfect match for such secrecy. A close-up of Agatha's purple eye reveals her sharp, calculating mind behind her beautiful, noble exterior. With total conviction, Marquis Aratus officially asks Lady Agatha to marry him, his intent finally and fully clear. Agatha agrees to the union, though she insists on organizing her complicated affairs before moving forward. Her thoughts drift to Pahlavi Island, considering its strategic value as a trade base for her territory's expansion. Agatha explains her plan to leverage this marriage to reject the suitor the Emperor previously proposed for her. Rejecting her cold pragmatism, Aratus refuses to treat her life like a ransom, tearing through their initial pretenses. Agatha looks at the Marquis with wide eyes, surprised by his sudden rejection of her purely transactional approach. A subtle shift in the air occurs as Agatha hands over the documents, signaling a new level of agreement. Looking hopeful, the blonde heiress suggests they present their combined front to the Emperor in the coming days. As Agatha promises to arrange the imperial meeting, the scene shifts to the bright, sprawling palace grounds. Aratus returns home to his grand estate, greeted immediately by his loyal, gray-haired servant, Ben. Walking through his seat of power, Aratus stoically reports that the meeting with Agatha held no unusual complications. A sharp glance back suggests the Marquis is still deeply processing the implications of his successful proposal. Aratus shocks his aide by ordering the immediate rejection of all other marriage introductions from various young ladies. The Marquis's face is set in stone, his mind completely made up regarding his future with the novelist heiress. Ben and the household staff are left reeling in shock at the sudden and decisive change in Herodotus' plans. Ben realizes with astonishment that the Marquis has chosen a bride just days after requesting a candidate list. When asked if he already has someone in mind, Herodotus gives a firm, singular confirmation to his stunned servant. Back in his office, the exhausted Marquis leans against his desk, finally allowing his stoic mask to slip. Dropping his jacket, Herodotus settles into his seat as Ben watches his master with growing curiosity and concern. Ben is horrified to learn he chose the novelist family, but Herodotus calmly reveals Agatha has already agreed. Transitioning from shock to support, Ben gives an enthusiastic thumbs up to celebrate the Marquis' successful engagement. Ben offers his hearty congratulations, predicting that the other retainers will be just as surprised by the news. Surrounded by metaphorical flowers, Herodotus reflects on his choice with a look of quiet, lingering intensity. Ben vows to prepare the empire's most beautiful bouquet to ensure the Marquis's formal presentation is absolutely perfect. A look of intense, comedic shock crosses Ben's face as he realizes the sheer magnitude of the situation. Ben nods vigorously, reasoning that Agatha's long history of leading her family makes her the perfect addition to theirs. A chibi version of Herodotus thinks that while Ben's reasoning is slightly off, there is no need to correct him. Herodotus envisions the radiant blonde Agatha, worrying that her diligent nature will lead her to overexert herself after marriage. Standing with crossed arms, the Marquis remains deep in thought, already planning for the challenges his new wife faces. Touching his chin, Herodotus admits to himself that it is only natural to worry about his future wife's well-being. He orders Ben to monitor their relatives closely, anticipating a strong reaction to his alliance with the novelist family. Marquis Herodotus stands alone in his grand office, the weight of his life-changing decision finally settling upon him. Looking at his writing desk, Herodotus realizes he must inform a woman named Isabel about his impending marriage. Herodotus steps outside into a scene of frantic activity as his staff begins preparing for the coming changes. Servants run past in a panicked blur, overwhelmed by the sudden and monumental tasks set before them. Letting out a soft sigh, Herodotus watches the chaos with the weariness of a man who prefers the battlefield. Herodotus assigns a man named Cleon to take charge of training as the estate descends into organized madness. The Marquis watches as his servants scurry away in a frantic rush to carry out his newest commands. 3 young servants erupt in a frantic chorus of shock, unable to believe the Marquis is actually proposing. The servants bombard the dark-haired Marquis with questions, specifically asking if Lady Agatha Nobilis is truly his chosen bride. Herodotus silences the brown-haired servants with a single, sharp command as they reel from the weight of his news. A heavy silence follows as Herodotus stands firm, his staff watching him from across the grand, stone-paved estate courtyard. The servants shout in unison, their disbelief turning to excitement as Herodotus officially confirms he has found his fiancée. Herodotus calmly explains that she has accepted, and he plans to make a formal proposal in a few days. A collective gasp fills the air as the servants struggle to process the monumental reality of their master's engagement. A brown-haired man asks for clarification, stunned that the sole heiress of House Nobilis is the intended bride. Herodotus remains stoic, affirming that the specific and demanding terms of his marriage proposal will be strictly fulfilled. Herodotus lets out a weary sigh as his staff questions the immense, life-altering price he has wagered on this union. Ben, the gray-haired servant, hurries into the room to address his master, while the younger staff remains completely bewildered. A grand procession of ornate green carriages arrives at the estate, signaled by a loud boom echoing through the grounds. A man with brown hair and glasses introduces himself as Denny Kaler, the first executor representing House Nobilis. Herodotus meets Denny, who has arrived promptly to finalize the terms Agatha set for their impending and strategic alliance. Denny explains Agatha's urgency, while the servants whisper in awe at how quickly she organized her formidable noble house. From the carriage, Denny presents a staggering amount of gold and the Merchant Guild's official documents to the Marquis. A text box highlights the staggering shock of preparing a major noble house's annual budget in only half a day. Herodotus and his servants observe as the formal transfer of the massive dowry and merchant documents begins in earnest. The Marquis pauses for a moment of quiet reflection, the gravity of the contract finally settling over the silent room. Surrounded by blooming pink roses, the blonde Agatha is shown diligently working at her writing desk in her estate. Denny Kaler acknowledges Herodotus' understanding as the scene shifts to the bright and sprawling grounds of the imperial palace. His official business concluded, Denny takes his leave and prepares to depart from the Marquis's grand estate. The elegant green carriage rolls out through the massive estate gates, carrying the news of the finalized agreement. Back in his office, Herodotus focuses on writing a personal letter, his expression unreadable and focused on his task. Aratus questions his staff's lingering curiosity now that the engagement is officially confirmed and their questions have been answered. The three young servants cheer enthusiastically, their initial shock turning into a joyous celebration for their stoic master. Aratus looks on as his staff continues to whisper excitedly about the unprecedented and sudden nature of his match. A brown-haired servant asks if Aratus noticed the specific, heartfelt opening line of the letter he was just writing. Two of the servants share a knowing look and a nod, certain that there is more to this than a contract. A chibi servant gestures excitedly, convinced that Aratus's cold exterior hides a deeper, non-political connection to Lady Agatha. Ben enters the room and asks if the Marquis is still present, breaking his master's moment of intense solitude. Aratus holds a beautifully sealed envelope, the result of his careful and deliberate efforts at his private writing desk. Ben observes that this is the gentlest letter the Marquis has written, despite Aratus's concern about being too stern. The servant is thrilled, suspecting that this union will blossom into something far beyond a mere cold political arrangement. Warm sunlight floods the hallway as the staff's joyous exclamations about the wonderful news echo throughout the manor. Ben and the servants speculate if this is the Marquis's first true experience with romance in a very long time. The staff continues to gossip about Aratus's romantic history, their excitement growing as they watch the new developments unfold. A brown-haired man tells his companion to be quiet, annoyed that such a sensitive topic was brought up today. A servant excitedly asks to be informed immediately if Lady Agatha happens to make an appearance at the manor. Agatha examines the letter, noting that the handwriting is surprisingly different and less flowy than she originally expected. She smiles softly, finding the Marquis's obvious effort to write neatly for her to be incredibly cute and charming. Agatha glows with genuine happiness, her purple eyes sparkling as she cherishes the personal gesture from the stoic Aratus. Accompanied by her guards and maids, the blonde heiress walks gracefully through the ornate and sunlit palace corridors. Agatha pauses as she enters a room, a sweet floral scent catching her attention and piquing her curiosity. Aratus stands tall in his formal uniform, holding a magnificent bouquet of pink and blue roses for his bride. Agatha's eyes widen in absolute surprise as she softly calls out his name, Enoch, clearly touched by his presence. The Marquis presents the beautiful flowers to Agatha, the romantic gesture filling the sunlit room with unexpected warmth. Agatha blushes deeply while holding the bouquet, thinking his charm is cheating while admitting she likes it very much. Aratus looks at her with a soft, affectionate expression, his stoic mask finally softening as he observes her reaction. Kneeling before Agatha, Aratus kisses her hand as the surrounding staff watches the romantic scene with joyous, silent awe. Servants watch in amazement as the blonde Agatha reflects on Aratus's sincere and loving marriage proposal. In a tender moment, the dark-haired Marquis Aratus holds Agatha's hand, his expression filled with solemn intensity. Agatha's face softens as her heart begins to race, deeply moved by the unexpected sincerity of her fiancé. Standing together in the sunlit hall, Agatha smiles warmly at Aratus while clutching her magnificent rose bouquet. Aratus surprises Agatha with a gentle kiss on her cheek, leaving her blushing and momentarily breathless with surprise. Holding her flowers close, the blonde heiress glows with a genuine happiness she hasn't felt in many years. As the couple steps into the surrounding staff and guests begin to whisper about the engagement. High society guests gossip behind their fans, their attention fixed entirely on the high-profile union of Aratus and Agatha. Agatha leans into Aratus's arm as they walk together, signaling their new partnership to the watchful garden crowd. Aratus asks after her well-being, and Agatha reassures him she is plenty strong enough for their garden stroll. A soft smile touches Agatha's lips as she thanks the Marquis for his surprisingly attentive and caring nature. A grand fountain flows in the peaceful garden, providing a serene backdrop for the couple's private conversation. Agatha presents a formal document explaining her strategic plan to address the king regarding the empire's current crisis. Aratus carefully reviews the paperwork, his sharp mind immediately recognizing the brilliance of Agatha's proposed countermeasures. They discuss leading negotiations with the Minukor Empire, with Aratus deciding his personal involvement is now strictly necessary. Agatha pauses, her purple eyes clouding briefly as she considers the heavy political weight of her previous marriage. She reflects on the delicate international relations currently strained by her past divorce from the foreign prince Ferdinand. Despite the prince's past mistakes, Agatha believes her direct involvement in the negotiations will yield the best results. Looking up at her stoic fiancé, Agatha wonders if her political boldness has caught the Marquis by surprise. Aratus remains focused on the documents in his hand, his silence adding to the gravity of the situation. A servant interrupts their walk to address the Marquis and Lady Novellus with an urgent royal message. The man delivers an invitation from the king, requesting the newly engaged couple join him for lunch soon. Agatha accepts the invitation, realizing the news of their sudden proposal has already reached the imperial palace. A look of quiet confidence settles on Agatha's face as she anticipates the coming meeting with the king. Aratus leans in close to whisper a private thought to Agatha, causing her eyes to widen in shock. Witnesses gasp in shock at the intimate display, the rumors of their romantic connection spreading like wildfire. The Marquis prepares to depart, his mind already shifting back to the duties that lie ahead of him. Accompanied by his loyal guards, Aratus strides through the estate with his usual commanding and stoic presence. In another intimate moment, Aratus's proximity and intense gaze leave the blonde heiress visibly flustered and intrigued. As he walks, the dark-haired Marquis admits to himself that Agatha has captivated his thoughts since their meeting. A memory flashes of a blood-stained Agatha, her defiant and resilient spirit, leaving a permanent mark on him. Returning to his duties, Aratus maintains his cool exterior, though his thoughts remain anchored to his future wife. Boom! A furious hand slams against a wooden desk, the sound echoing through a tense and private room. A brown-haired woman seethes with rage, unable to contain her anger regarding the news of Agatha's new engagement. An older woman calmly sips tea while her companion rants about how Theodore will become a social laughingstock. The gray-haired matriarch dismisses Agatha's actions, questioning the sanity of her former daughter-in-law's bold new alliance. With a cold and calculated look, the older woman vows to intervene before Agatha can cause further trouble. The brown-haired woman continues her complaints, frustrated by Agatha's refusal to be easily managed or intimidated. A younger woman with long hair joins the critique, resentful of Agatha's pride and refusal to show deference. They recall Agatha's unwavering, ramrod-straight posture and the piercing, unapologetic way she always looks right at them. The younger woman accuses Agatha of playing the victim and turning Theodore completely against his own family. Bitterly, she notes that Agatha did nothing to silence the scandalous rumors that plagued them after her divorce. The family feels socially exiled, blaming Agatha for their absence from the recent spring social season events. Desperate for a solution, the younger woman begs the matriarch to fight back against Agatha's rising social influence. The gray-haired woman remains silent, her eyes narrowing as she thinks of Theodore's recent downward spiral. In a darkened room, a disheveled Theodore slumps over a table, drowning his sorrows in a bottle. Crying into his drink, Theodore laments that his family could never find it in themselves to be kind. Watching him with utter disdain, the matriarch considers her son's pitiful state a disgrace to the novilis name. She decides it is time to teach her former daughter-in-law one final, humiliating lesson in social etiquette. The older woman plots her revenge, identifying the upcoming autumn hunt as the perfect stage for Agatha's downfall. On the sunlit balcony, the blonde Agatha gazes down at Aratus, her elegant presence capturing his immediate attention. Aratus flinches slightly in surprise, his stoic composure momentarily wavering as he looks up at his radiant fiancé. Agatha stands gracefully in her vibrant yellow gown, a soft smile playing on her lips as she greets him. The intricate blue floral patterns and delicate lace of Agatha's layered skirt shimmer brilliantly in the morning light. Aratus bows low to kiss Agatha's hand, his greeting warm as he formally welcomes her to the imperial palace. While holding her hand, Agatha mentions she has finished her preparations for the metaphorical political battle that lies ahead. Aratus gazes at her ornate and beautiful yellow dress, questioning if this stunning ensemble is truly her chosen battle attire. Linking her arm with his, Agatha explains that looking intimidated is not an option when facing His Majesty today. The white carriage, adorned with pink floral accents, rolls through the grand gilded gates toward the heart of the palace. Inside the carriage, Aratus remains unusually quiet, his eyes fixed on Agatha as they ride together in comfortable silence. Agatha notices his silence, prompting the dark-haired Marquis to apologize for being inconsiderate during their journey to the meeting. Aratus asks if she has a preferred wedding date, but Agatha defers the final decision to the king's wisdom. Sparkling jewelry and a magnificent white gown appear in a vision of the many wedding details Agatha plans to manage. Agatha reflects on her past political marriages, recalling how she never had the freedom to choose her own wedding venue. She asks Aratus if he would mind her selecting the venue herself, her expression hopeful for his personal approval. Aratus gently encourages her to do as she wishes, believing the bride's personal taste should define their special day. Agatha's heart races and her cheeks flush as she is deeply moved by Aratus's unexpected kindness and supportive nature. In a chibi-style daydream, Agatha suggests a coastal location for their honeymoon, her purple eyes bright with excitement. Aratus considers her suggestion, pondering the beauty of an island or a coastal city for their first trip as a couple. The blonde-haired king welcomes Agatha with open arms and a wide, joyful grin as they enter the dining hall. Seated at a formal table, the king asks Aratus to confirm if he has truly asked for Agatha's hand. The king laughs heartily, delighted that a renowned war hero and his beloved goddaughter have found such a fine match. Aratus remains focused, shifting the conversation to official business as he prepares to get straight to the strategic point. Agatha signals a servant while expressing her deep gratitude for the king's constant consideration during these difficult political times. His Majesty's expression turns serious as he begins to review the formal document Agatha has prepared regarding the crisis. Chibi Agatha suggests they review the papers while eating, reminding the king of his busy schedule and upcoming royal appointments. A feast of fresh lobster, pineapple, and vibrant salads is served, filling the table with an array of delicious colors. Agatha daintily enjoys a piece including fish, her refined manners evident as the group begins their meal in the palace. Aratus notes her enjoyment of the meal, observing with a quiet interest that Agatha seems to have a fondness for seafood. Smiling brightly, Agatha admits she loves all seafood and has always enjoyed the simple pleasure of cooking fresh fish. The king glows with happiness, relieved to see the couple getting along so well before their upcoming marriage ceremony. Agatha formally asks the king for his opinion on the strategic proposal she has drafted to save the empire's economy. Sipping his wine, the king tells Agatha not to be so formal, reaffirming that she has never once disappointed him. A chibi king proudly boasts about his clever goddaughter, teasing Aratus that he must cherish such a brilliant woman deeply. The king asks about their wedding timeline, prompting Agatha to suggest that next month would provide enough time to prepare. Stroking his beard thoughtfully, the king agrees that the beginning of next month would be the most auspicious time. His Majesty reminds Agatha of her duty to oversee the port expansion at Pahlavi Island, even amidst her wedding planning. Agatha's purple eyes narrow slightly as she considers the political weight of allocating districts to the opposing party. She notes that the rival Manicore Empire will likely want to inspect the island, her strategic mind already planning ahead. Aratus calls her name softly, his gaze intense as he senses the burden of the journey weighing on her mind. Agatha blinks in surprise as Aratus points out that Pahlavi Island is a long and arduous journey from the capital. Aratus proposes adding the island to their honeymoon itinerary so they can travel together as a united front after the wedding. Agatha is visibly touched as the Marquis declares his firm intention to never let her face such travels alone again. The scene shifts to the grand and sun-drenched second prince's palace within the borders of the rival Manicore Empire. Prince Fernand, the silver-haired ex-husband, reacts with stunned disbelief as he reads the news of Agatha's new engagement. Fernand seethes with a sudden burning rage, his red eyes narrowing at the realization that Agatha is getting married again. He clenches the letter so tightly his hand shakes, unable to accept that she has moved on so quickly. Striding through his room with a furious expression, the prince refuses to believe Agatha has chosen another man over him. Fernand mocks Aratus's reputation, dismissively labeling the war hero a grim-faced brute who is unworthy of his former wife. Slumping onto his sofa, Fernand arrogantly assumes he is the better choice, convinced Agatha should simply return to her ex-husband. The lavender-haired man with red eyes boasts about his charms from the comfort of his bed, promising a better future. A soft "there he goes again" sounds as two women ignore the blonde man engulfed in flames in the background. Determined to protect his interests, the red-eyed man resolves to uncover the identity of his lady's new, mysterious fiancé. A chamberlain quickly answers a royal summons, bowing low as he attends to the needs of the second prince. The scene shifts to the imposing palace towers where preparations for the office are ordered to begin at once. A soft swoosh sounds as the view opens onto a sunny garden salon, filled with high-ranking noble guests. Agatha looks breathtaking in her light blue dress and ribboned hat, radiating the grace of a perfect noble host. The noblewomen gather around a lavish tea table, gossiping about the romantic proposal Agatha recently received from the Marquis. Amidst a spread of fine china and cakes, the ladies express their deep relief that Agatha is recovering well. Agatha considers the sudden nature of the proposal, her fan held close as she worries about the social inconvenience. A soft "aha" sounds as Agatha offers a serene smile, clearly moved by the concern shown by her companions. Tiers of exquisite desserts and fresh berries sit on the tree, highlighting the grand scale of the garden party. The young ladies lean in close, their faces bright with laughter as they share the latest aristocratic gossip. A red-haired noblewoman gestures excitedly while speaking, fully immersed in the light-hearted atmosphere of the afternoon tea. Resting her chin on her hand, Agatha listens patiently to the constant stream of questions regarding her future wedding. The group notes Agatha's long and complicated history, their expressions reflecting the weight of the rumors surrounding her. A soft tee-hee sounds as the ladies giggle together, enjoying Agatha's playful and witty responses to their prying. Agatha chuckles softly behind her gloved hand, acknowledging that she has always been the primary talk of the nobility. A memory flickers of a dark-haired man kneeling before Agatha, presenting flowers in a grand public display of affection. Narration recalls the emperor hosting a personal luncheon to formally celebrate the high-profile engagement between Agatha and Enoch. A soft slurp sounds as Agatha takes a refined sip of her drink, savoring the peaceful moment in the garden. The younger guests lean forward with wide eyes, eagerly questioning when the grand wedding ceremony will finally take place. Agatha's expression turns pensive, her purple eyes reflecting the heavy responsibilities that come with her new social status. Handing her glass back to a maid, Agatha prepares to transition the conversation toward more pressing family matters. A pink, rose-sealed letter rests on the table, signaling the arrival of a significant and time-sensitive royal invitation. The noblewomen are shocked by the news that the event is only 3 weeks away, their faces filled with surprise. A soft blush colors Agatha's face as she clasps her hands, her heart racing at the mention of the date. The Marquis, Enoch, arrives in the garden with an imposing stride, his dark blue suit catching the afternoon sunlight. A soft gasp sounds as the ladies take in Enoch's handsome features and intense gaze as he nears them. Agatha's face lights up with a radiant smile, her joy evident as she watches her fiancé approaching her unexpectedly. A soft thump sounds as Enoch halts in his tracks, his eyes fixed intently on Agatha amidst the crowd. Agatha asks Enoch what brings him to her salon, noting that he seemed quite busy with his own affairs. Enoch explains he was simply passing by and decided to stop in, while an assistant waits dutifully behind him. A soft ah sounds as Agatha glows with happiness, her beauty leaving the surrounding noblewomen completely mesmerized. Enoch takes Agatha's hand as the ladies whisper in delight, captivated by the couple's public display of romantic affection. Agatha gracefully invites her guests to continue their tea while she steps away for a private moment with Enoch. A soft swish sounds as the couple walks away, their silhouettes framed by the white pillars of the gazebo. Agatha touches her cheek in embarrassment, wondering if her recent lack of sleep is as obvious as she fears. As they walk, Enoch listens intently while Agatha discusses the disrespect shown to her by some of his relatives. Agatha seeks Enoch's understanding as she reveals the mockery made of his choice of spouse by his own family. Agatha's expression hardens as she questions if Enoch has finally uncovered the individuals behind the recent social scandals. Looking toward the horizon, Agatha assumes that Enoch will soon set out with his knights to restore discipline. A vision of Enoch wielding a grand sword appears, representing his authority to punish those who bring disorder. Agatha admits it is a shame they must be apart, her face reflecting a mix of duty and longing. Enoch offers a warm smile, warning Agatha that she will likely be swamped with her own work while he's gone. A soft step sounds as the pair continues their stroll, followed by a maid and an assistant carrying records. Enoch lifts Agatha's hand and places a tender kiss on her knuckles, reaffirming his deep devotion to her. Agatha gazes up at him, her eyes shining with affection as she feels the strength of their growing bond. Enoch leans in and playfully remarks that expressing such longing is usually his line to say, not hers. Agatha blinks in surprise, her purple eyes wide as she looks at him with a bewildered but happy expression. Still dressed in her elegant blue gown, Agatha reflects on the unsettling intensity of Aratus's recent gaze. The dark-haired Marquis Aratus strides away through the estate gardens, his commanding presence silhouetted against the light. A grim scene reveals a blood-splattered stone floor, marking the violent end of a recent confrontation. At sunset, Hubert, the red-haired knight, stands over a fallen enemy amidst the aftermath of a bloody battle. Hubert reports the capture of Baron Daycher's household while 2 terrified men in vests tremble on the ground. Click! A sharp metallic sound rings out as Aratus adjusts his gear, preparing for the next cold maneuver. Clad in blood-stained armor, the stoic Aratus offers praise for a job well done despite the gruesome surroundings. Aratus identifies a target while a bloodied man on his knees shivers in absolute terror before his lord. A white bird takes flight over Hubert and Aratus as they stand amidst the wreckage of their enemies. Aratus reaches up to retrieve a secret message from the leg of a returning white messenger pigeon. With a focused expression, the Marquis carefully reads the small letter delivered by his loyal avian messenger. Aratus immediately begins writing a response on a small board, while the curious Hubert watches over his shoulder. Hubert flashes a bright smile as he asks Aratus about the contents of the lady's recent message. After hearing Agatha wants him back soon, Hubert teases Aratus for acting like a smitten newlywed already. Aratus silences the red-haired knight's teasing with a look so icy it leaves his companions visibly shaken. Hubert coughs awkwardly to break the tension, quickly shifting the conversation back to the fate of the Thatchers. Aratus declares the second son the new Baron Thatcher, leaving the former heir in a state of shock. With chilling indifference, the Marquis issues a final, ruthless order to dispose of the disgraced former heir. The former heir screams for mercy as he is dragged away by knights, while Aratus remains completely unmoved. The Thatcher family seal falls to the ground, a symbolic end to their power and social standing. Aratus looms over the new, trembling Baron Thatcher, hoping this harsh lesson never has to be repeated. Desperate to survive, the newly appointed Baron Thatcher vows never to disappoint Aratus or repeat his family's mistakes. 4 days later, the carriage and knights arrive at the grand, sun-drenched gates of the Roxbad Empire capital. Aratus halts his horse with a firm command, his attention suddenly diverted as they enter the busy city. Turning to Hubert, Aratus asks for an update on the current state of the First Estate's affairs. Hubert reports that everything has remained quiet and no ambushes have occurred during their time away. Aratus asks a cryptic question about someone being awake, leaving the red-haired knight looking completely confused. Declaring he must go check for himself, Aratus abruptly wheels his horse around, shocking his loyal vice commander. A serene and quiet night settles over the grand palace architecture under a star-dusted purple sky. Inside, Agatha struggles to keep her eyes open while working late into the night at her massive desk. Alan, the spectacled aide, enters with tea and gently suggests that Agatha should finally head to bed. Agatha rubs her eyes wearily, insisting on finishing her work despite Alan informing her it is nearly 2 a.m. Noticing a disturbance outside, Agatha suggests to Alan that they investigate the unusual midnight noise. Agatha senses something was recently chased away, but Alan remains focused on urging his exhausted mistress to sleep. Agatha wonders if an assassin caused the chaos while she continues her diligent work by candlelight. Letting out a tired sigh, the blonde heiress tries to refocus on the mountain of paperwork before her. Agatha's purple eyes widen in sudden surprise as she senses a familiar presence standing just out of sight. Aratus stands silently in the doorway, his dark cloak and travel-worn appearance marking his unexpected late-night return. Startled, Agatha quickly rises from her desk to welcome the Marquis back to the safety of the estate. Aratus gazes at her with quiet concern, asking after her well-being following his long and arduous journey. The couple sits across from one another in the dimly lit study, the atmosphere thick with unspoken thoughts. Agatha inquires if the Marquis managed to handle all his affairs smoothly during his time away from the capital. Aratus confirms that everything has been settled neatly, allowing him to stay by her side for the time being. The Marquis stares at his fiancée with a penetrating gaze, silently observing the fatigue written on her features. Agatha blushes and touches her face, self-consciously asking if her exhaustion is really that obvious to him. She explains her habit of finishing work immediately, fearing that delays will only lead to greater problems later. Agatha suggests showing him to the entrance so he can rest, but Aratus softly calls her name. Smiling warmly, Agatha admits she is curious about the progression of the political matters he was handling. Aratus ignores her protests and insists on escorting her to her room himself given the late hour. Cutting to the chase, Aratus declares that it is far too late to continue formal greetings in the hall. Alan expresses deep gratitude to Marquis Aratus for finally allowing the exhausted Agatha to head to her bed. Aratus dismisses the thanks, while the aide notes he was worried because the lady hadn't slept all day. Under a star-dusted sky, Aratus mounts his horse and issues a firm command to Hubert not to wake her. Alan bows respectfully as the Marquis orders that all documents needing approval be brought directly to him instead. Gazing into the distance, the Marquis remains deep in thought, his expression serious as he prepares for the day. Reflecting on Agatha's solitary toil, Aratus begins to understand why she felt compelled to shoulder every burden alone. A whimsical purple-haired figure appears briefly, marking a light-hearted transition as the morning sun begins to rise. From behind, the blonde Agatha is seen working amidst piles of papers, a testament to her previous relentless dedication. Aratus rides his horse through the palace grounds, the quiet architecture bathed in the soft light of the dawn. Looking up at the fading stars, the Marquis feels a strange sense of familiarity regarding his connection to Agatha. A somber flashback reveals a young Aratus on a battlefield, reflecting on the parents he lost to the war. Agatha blinks in surprise as the Marquis realizes their shared history of escaping the dark pits of their pasts. Determined to help, Aratus gallops forward, resolving never to look away from the struggles she faces now. A figure with long green hair and a purple cloak stands in a doorway, vowing not to repeat mistakes. The green-haired woman smiles softly, her resolve clear as she promises never to be so foolish again. Agatha sits in the bright garden while her aide, Alan, approaches with a stack of morning paperwork. Feeling dazed from her long sleep, Agatha learns that the Marquis personally organized her entire schedule for the day. In a comedic scene, Agatha wakes to bright sunlight and realizes with a shock that she has overslept. Alan explains that Aratus took charge of her affairs, strictly ordering that no one disturb her rest. Reading through the files, Agatha is amazed to find that Enoch even attended an official meeting in her place. Agatha and Alan wait on the balcony, enjoying the peaceful morning while the estate activities continue smoothly. Aratus on horseback with his knights, looking every bit the noble commander in his formal dark suit. A close-up highlights the gold chains and ruby-encrusted medals decorating the Marquis's chest as he approaches. Agatha rushes toward him with a joyful smile, while Aratus greets his fiancée with quiet, steady affection. Taking her hands, Aratus gazes warmly at Agatha and asks if she managed to sleep well at last. Agatha reflects on how thoughtful he has been, noting his gentle care and the protection he offers her. Looking into his steady blue eyes, the blonde heiress realizes that the Marquis has never once overstepped his boundaries. Agatha smiles radiantly, her gratitude evident as she feels the support of the man she is about to marry. Aratus reaches for a document Alan is holding, leaving Agatha momentarily confused about why he is taking her work. Clasping his hands, the Marquis firmly suggests that Agatha should take the opportunity to rest even longer today. Aratus reports that the wedding venue inspection and wine shipments have all been handled successfully and without any issues. He hands a single paper to Agatha, keeping her informed while managing the bulk of the wedding logistics himself. Agatha stares at the document, feeling that his total takeover of her responsibilities is perhaps a bit excessive. Amidst the flowers, Aratus takes her hand as Agatha asks if he will be returning to see her tomorrow. The Marquis shocks Agatha by declaring his intention to stay and assist her for an entire week. Discussing their schedules, Aratus mentions there is another specific task that he simply cannot complete without her help. A celebratory display of champagne and tiered strawberry cakes highlights the opulence of the upcoming royal ceremony. Agatha takes his arm, tentatively asking if she may call her attendants to help her with the remaining preparations. Aratus gazes at her with focused intensity, promising to support her in every way to make things run smoother. Agatha looks away shyly, still struggling to get used to the idea of letting others do her work. The combined symbols of the chained eagle and the purple roses represent the official union of their two houses. With a soft expression, Agatha decides she does not want to turn down his sincere offer of support. The scene shifts to a grand, sunlit temple where the wedding ceremony is officially underway before a gathered crowd. Guests whisper in amazement at the beauty of the ceremony, which Agatha had hinted would be something truly special. Lady Iris and her friend are delighted, finding the temple decorations far more beautiful than they had imagined. A man with messy, light-colored hair walks slowly through the hall, his presence drawing immediate attention from the guests. Looking exhausted and disheveled, the man's haggard appearance causes the surrounding crowd to whisper in shock and disapproval. The guests mock the man for arriving alone, gossiping that the rumors about his failing marriage are definitely true. A close-up reveals the stunning detail of a white lace wedding gown, shimmering with pearls and intricate embroidery. Surrounded by white flowers, a final message of thanks concludes the preparations for the couple's new beginning. Blonde Agatha prepares for her wedding, wearing an intricate diamond tiara and a delicate lace veil. Her attendant announces the ceremony's start, while Agatha asks about the whereabouts of her groom, Enoch. Standing at the altar, Enoch looks strikingly handsome in his white and gold formal military wedding attire. A string orchestra fills the grand hall with melodic music as the wedding ceremony officially begins. Agatha takes a deep breath, her violet eyes reflecting a mix of nervous anticipation and quiet resolve. Clad in lace gloves, the bride tightly grips a lush bouquet of white roses as she steps forward. The stunning bride stands ready, her off-the-shoulder gown shimmering with pearls under the temple's soft light. Agatha gazes forward with wide eyes, her expression softening with a hint of a blush on her cheeks. Enoch remains composed and stoic, his gaze fixed on the entrance as he waits for his bride. The couple stands before the high priest, their silhouettes bathed in the divine light of the grand temple. Amidst a bed of flowers, they join hands to exchange rings, sealing their union as husband and wife. Radiant with joy, the new Marchioness smiles brightly, finally finding peace in this long-awaited moment of happiness. A celebratory dong echoes through the valley as the outdoor reception is held in a magnificent gazebo. The emperor laughs heartily, clearly delighted by the successful union of these two powerful and influential houses. Bowing deeply, the newlyweds offer their formal respects to the emperor and the gathered royal family members. Agatha gracefully shakes hands with a noble guest, her elegant manners shining through during the reception. Agatha observes her surroundings carefully, noting that some of their political rivals have been unusually difficult to track. Prince Antony approaches with a charming smile, addressing Agatha by her new title as the Marchioness. To her surprise, the prince politely requests the honor of the second dance during the evening's festivities. Agatha accepts the request with a warm smile, promising to save a spot on her dance card for him. A whimsical transition reveals Agatha's inner thoughts as she wonders about Antony's sudden and unexpected social maneuver. The prince and the Marchioness prepare to take the floor, drawing the curious eyes of the entire ballroom. Enoch leans in close behind Agatha, his presence a silent reminder of his protective and watchful nature. With a polite farewell, Antony steps away, apologizing for monopolizing the bride's time for so long. Walking through the ballroom, Agatha senses an underlying tension, convinced that something significant is hidden beneath the surface. She remains focused and alert, vowing to uncover the truth of the situation before the night is over. A dark-haired lady in a lavender gown offers a respectful bow, congratulating the couple on their marriage. Looking up, the lady reveals striking green eyes and a gentle expression that suggests a desire for friendship. Agatha reaches out to shake her hand, expressing her own hopes for a positive relationship going forward. With a kind smile, Agatha welcomes the new acquaintance, noting they have plenty of time to bond. Later at the ball, Enoch gallantly kisses Agatha's hand as they prepare for their first official dance. The couple moves gracefully in each other's arms, the blonde bride's blue gown swirling with every turn. A close-up of the dress's intricate embroidery captures the elegance and luxury of the royal wedding celebration. Enoch pulls his wife closer, their movements perfectly synchronized as the music reaches a romantic and swelling crescendo. Agatha looks away with a light blush, feeling slightly overwhelmed by the intensity of Enoch's close presence. A firm hand on her waist provides steady support, making her pulse quicken as they dance closer together. Agatha realizes she is incredibly conscious of Enoch's strength and the protective way he holds her. Suddenly, her foot slips on the polished floor, causing a moment of alarm as she nearly loses her balance. Enoch catches her instantly, pulling her against his chest to prevent a fall in front of their guests. Their faces are inches apart, the air between them crackling with unspoken emotion and a deep connection. Agatha leans into his embrace, her previous tension melting away as she finds comfort in her husband's arms. Looking into each other's eyes, the pair shares a private moment of tenderness amidst the busy wedding gala. Following the dance, Agatha approaches Prince Antony once more, her attention shifting back to the night's social duties. Antony stands with a relaxed pose, waiting for her with a knowing and somewhat mischievous glint in his eyes. Agatha responds politely to his greeting, maintaining her perfect composure as she acknowledges the high-ranking royal. The ballroom is a flurry of activity as many couples dance under the sparkling chandeliers of the palace. Noticing her slight agitation, Antony teases Agatha about being unusually nervous for such a seasoned and capable lady. He playfully asks if her heart is racing because of her feelings for the Marquis, making her blush. The prince leans in to whisper that he has heard a very interesting and potentially secret piece of news. Agatha listens intently as Antony asks if she can guess who will be the envoy for their upcoming negotiations. Agatha freezes in sheer disbelief as Prince Antony delivers a piece of news that completely shatters her composure. Prince Antony leans in close, his expression unreadable, as he drops a bombshell about Agatha's past right in her ear. Agatha's heart sinks as she hears the prince reveal that her notorious ex-husband is expected to arrive shortly. Caught in a whirlwind of alarm, Agatha looks toward her husband, Enoch, as the ballroom atmosphere turns suddenly suffocating. From the high balcony, the emperor and empress observe the festive crowd, unaware of the tension brewing below them. The emperor laughs boisterously, his joy a sharp contrast to Agatha's dread at the thought of facing her past. The sun shines brilliantly over the majestic spires of the Manhwa Empire, the setting for this complicated royal drama. A memory reveals a younger Agatha walking through the palace, flanked by a group of attentive and somber maids. Frustrated by the gossip, young Agatha demands to know the prince's location, tired of his constant string of scandals. A sudden movement catches the young girl's eye, causing her to stop her hurried pace in curious surprise. She spots a lonely, silver-haired boy standing amidst the garden's greenery, his presence radiating a quiet, melancholic aura. A nervous maid quickly interjects, warning Agatha that the mysterious boy is far beneath her royal social standing. Agatha remains fixated on the child, suspecting a hidden connection to Fernand as the prince's matters remain strictly private. Fernand, her silver-haired former husband, greets her with mock affection while questioning her about the child she saw. He casually lounges on a desk, issuing a cold command for Agatha to avoid any future encounters with the boy. Claiming to be a victim of trickery, Fernand dismisses the child's existence with a chilling smile that repulses Agatha. Fernand feigns emotional distress, pressing Agatha's hand against his chest to prove his heart is supposedly racing from shock. A sharp realization strikes as Agatha feels his heartbeat, which remains perfectly steady and calm despite his dramatic lies. Driven, she writes a formal plea to the emperor, officially ending her marriage and securing her second painful royal divorce. In the present, Agatha grips her blue gown tightly, the memories of her past fueling a fresh surge of anxiety. Closing her eyes, she takes a long, stabilizing breath to regain her composure before facing the night's remaining challenges. Agatha calls out to Enoch, who turns back with a silent, watchful gaze as they prepare to leave the gala. A carriage rattles through the estate gates under the moonlit sky, carrying the newlyweds away from the prying eyes. Agatha gazes out the window, her mind still reeling from the news of Fernand's arrival as they travel in silence. Noticing her fatigue, Enoch asks if she is feeling tired after the long and emotionally taxing wedding celebration. To her surprise, Enoch kneels before her in the small carriage, his movements fluid and focused on her comfort. He reaches out to gently take her foot, surprising the blonde bride with his sudden and intimate show of care. Agatha stammers his name in shock as the powerful Marquis begins to attend to her travel-weary feet with humility. Enoch explains that he learned this technique to relieve fatigue during his harsh days on the battlefield. As he skillfully massages her foot, Enoch asks how it feels, while a flustered Agatha blushes at his touch. Overwhelmed by the intimacy, Agatha's face turns bright red, her heart fluttering at her husband's unexpected and gentle devotion. Enoch continues the massage with steady pressure, focused entirely on helping his wife relax despite her visible embarrassment. A sudden flinch escapes her as she remains stunned by the contrast between Enoch's strength and his current tenderness. Quickly withdrawing her foot, Agatha waves her hands frantically, insisting she is fine while struggling to hide her bashfulness. Enoch stands as Agatha attempts to regain her poise, noting that the tension in her body has finally eased. Clasping her hands over her racing heart, Agatha feels a new kind of nervousness as they arrive at their destination. An elderly butler bows deeply, offering a formal and warm welcome to the master and his new Marchioness. The grand Aratus residence looms under the stars, its stone pillars and wide steps glowing with a welcoming light. While the new home undergoes repairs, Enoch announces they will stay here tonight as the butler pledges his service. The couple walks through the opulent palace, Agatha reflecting on the significance of staying in her husband's family home. They move through a magnificent hallway of deep blue and gold, the scale of the estate leaving Agatha in awe. Staring at the grand architecture, Agatha realizes this is the first step into her new life as the Aratus matriarch. Walking arm in arm with Enoch, the blonde bride finds herself feeling a strange, deep sense of belonging for once. Enoch pauses before a massive set of ornate doors, drawing Agatha's curious attention as they reach their private quarters. He pushes the doors wide to reveal a breathtaking suite, leaving Agatha gasping in surprise at the sheer luxury. Agatha is stunned to find she isn't staying in the old chambers, but a room specially prepared for her. Looking around the sparkling, chandelier-lit room, the couple stands together in the center of their new shared sanctuary. Enoch instructs the butler to lead Agatha to the bath, ensuring she receives the finest care after their long day. The butler leads the way while Agatha follows, glancing back at her husband as she prepares for her first night. Agatha admires the residence's beauty, and the butler credits her care for its pristine state. The blonde bride steals a quiet, curious glance as she explores her new home. The elderly butler turns away, leading Agatha deeper into the grand and quiet estate. With a respectful bow, the butler pledges his absolute devotion to serving his new mistress. Agatha relaxes in a luxurious, steaming indoor pool, while a maid stands ready to assist her. A maid brings a tray, explaining that Enoch ordered light refreshments for her comfort. A close-up shows a glass of chilled white wine waiting on the elegant silver tray. The tray holds sliced meats, cheeses, and crackers, perfectly prepared for a late-night snack. Agatha takes a refreshing sip of the wine, her tension finally beginning to fade. Gazing at the moonlit grounds, she reflects on how the residence stood empty for a decade. A gentle splash echoes as Agatha moves gracefully through the clear, tranquil bathwater. Leaning against the edge, she wears a contented smile, enjoying a rare moment of peace. Standing by a window, Enoch instructs the butler to show Agatha into their private quarters. Agatha appears in a delicate blue nightgown and pink robe, looking bashful yet stunning. She walks toward her husband, her long blonde hair cascading over her translucent silk robe. A close-up of their feet highlights the quiet intimacy as the couple prepares for their first night. Without a word, Enoch sweeps Agatha into his arms, carrying her in a romantic bridal style. He carries her toward the bed, asking if the refreshments he sent were to her liking. Enoch gazes at his wife with intense affection as she confirms the food was delicious. He gently brushes her hair aside, his touch lingering with a mix of tenderness and passion. Enoch lays Agatha down on the bed, hovering over her as the air crackles with unspoken emotion. The pair shares a private, meaningful look, their bond strengthening in the quiet of the night. Agatha gasps softly as Enoch kisses her neck, his closeness making her pulse race. She trembles in his embrace, overwhelmed by her husband's sudden and fervent display of love. Enoch whispers her name while Agatha notices her heart is pounding fiercely against her ribs. Looking up at him with a flushed and tender expression, Agatha responds softly to his call. Enoch leans down to capture his wife's lips in a deep and passionate kiss. Agatha reflects on the alluring tingle running down her spine as Enoch continues his fervent touch. The scene shifts to the sprawling and majestic Manhwa Imperial Palace under a clear morning sky. Fernand approaches the emperor, who sits regally on his throne, to discuss an important petition. The emperor reveals he has deliberated on Ferdinand's request with his crown prince and ministers. Fernand reacts with joy, thrilled that the emperor is finally considering his ambitious proposal. In a chibi moment, Fernand promises great results, while the emperor offers a stern warning. Fernand focuses on a document regarding island rights, a key piece of his strategic plan. The emperor remains skeptical, watching Fernand with a stern and deeply suspicious gaze. Fernand acknowledges his permission to depart, maintaining a polite and respectful facade.
After Fernand leaves, the emperor sighs, admitting he is still not entirely convinced of his sincerity.
A narration notes that the Roxbard Empire's prestige has risen significantly following recent events. The empire has gained new territories, busy ports, and substantial war reparations in gold. A memory of Agatha and Enoch's wedding symbolizes the powerful political shift their union caused. The emperor grows frustrated, realizing the nobilis family's influence will only continue to grow. Fernand strikes a confident pose, seemingly pleased with the progress of his secret schemes. The emperor laments the divorce, believing it fractured their once strong relations with the Roxbard Empire. Turning the subject, the emperor asks how Fernand's hidden son is currently doing. Fernand's expression hardens as he simply states the boy is managing just fine. With a cold and calculated smile, Fernand vows not to disappoint the emperor. A curtain is pulled back to watch Fernand and his men departing from the palace grounds. A close-up of a sharp purple eye reveals someone is secretly monitoring the ongoing drama. Later, Agatha focuses on her meal while dining in a sunlit and flower-filled room. Ethel Maslow, first aide to the nobilis family, informs Agatha that the time is not yet right. Blonde-haired Ethel Maslow adjusts his glasses, realizing the emperor has likely deduced his hidden motives. Agatha, dressed in light blue, stands before Ethel as he bows respectfully at the dining table. Attendants busily load supplies into carriages, double-checking the food and water for the long journey ahead. In the bustling courtyard, staff frantically search for missing tents, while Agatha oversees the departure preparations. Flanked by her two maids, the blonde Marquise searches the crowd for her husband amidst the chaos. A bright blush colors Agatha's face as she finally spots Enoch through the crowd of busy attendants. She approaches Enoch, who stands tall in his green military attire, noting they still have time before departing. Gazing up at her husband, Agatha explains she was simply curious to see if everything was ready. A red-haired knight greets the couple with a cheerful salute, delighted to finally meet the new mistress. He introduces himself as Hubert Carwin, deputy commander of the Aratus Knights, with an enthusiastic, wide grin. Hubert chuckles, mentioning how jealous his fellow knight Leon was to lose this escort assignment to him. Enoch closes his eyes in weary resignation as Hubert boasts about winning his position through pure luck. Despite his lord's annoyance, Hubert passionately insists that his story of competition is a tale worth telling. The red-haired knight suggests Enoch should share his efforts so Agatha might look upon him more kindly. Agatha watches with an amused smile, finding the knight's frank way of expressing their goodwill quite refreshing. A butler formally announces that all travel preparations are finished, receiving a curt, decisive approval from Enoch. Enoch commands Hubert to stop chatting and organize the knights, while a chibi Hubert bids Agatha goodbye. Mounted on his horse, Hubert confirms all is ready as the grand military procession begins to move. A sudden, loud rattle sounds as the carriages and horses pass through the estate's stone gates. Inside the moving carriage, Agatha sits close to Enoch, watching the passing scenery through the window. A long clatter echoes as the impressive line of carriages snakes through the sun-drenched golden countryside. A cold whoosh of wind greets them as the party arrives at a wooden inn during twilight. Standing before the black-tail cat sign, Enoch expresses concern that the humble inn is beneath her status. The Marquis suggests setting up a bed inside the carriage to ensure his wife's comfort and rest. Agatha politely declines, insisting she is used to travel and prefers the security of a proper guest room. Enoch and Hubert exchange a stunned, wide-eyed look, clearly impressed by Agatha's lack of noble pretension. In a chibi moment, Agatha cheerfully asks to see her room, while Hubert eagerly leads the way. A quick click sounds as Hubert opens the door to the inn's finest suite for the traveling couple. The room is simple but tidy, featuring a large wooden bed tucked into a cozy, shadowed corner. The group stands together in the small suite, the transition from palace luxury to rustic charm feeling quite stark. Agatha calls for her brown-haired maid, Jessie, who immediately appears with a respectful and focused bow. A fast swish-swish sounds as Jessie prepares the room with incredible speed, a whirlwind of domestic efficiency. Hubert points toward the end of the hall, clarifying that the Marquise's separate quarters are further down. Agatha offers a serene and contented smile, completely at peace with the humble accommodations of their journey. Enoch watches her in silence, his expression softening as he observes his wife's genuine and gentle nature. The scene shifts to a table overflowing with a savory feast of roasted meats, warm bread, and soup. In the common room, the knights marvel at the massive portions of meat they've been allowed to eat. Agatha enjoys her own meal, silently vowing to provide even better for the men in the future. A soft whoosh of the night wind travels across the mountain range under a brilliant full moon. By the 6th day of travel, a bright campfire crackles with a steady pop in the dark woods. A sudden poke sounds as a fork pierces a plump, juicy sausage during the group's camp dinner. The knights discuss how the atmosphere of their missions has improved significantly since the Marchioness joined them. A knight gazes longingly at his fork, amazed to be eating such high-quality food during a standard procession. Thoughts reflect on the initial worry for Agatha's comfort, which now seems entirely unnecessary given her resilience. The men praise her astonishing precision with logistics and her remarkable physical endurance on the long road. A peaceful crackle sounds from the fire as the exhausted group shares a moment of quiet camaraderie. Framed by pink blossoms, Agatha glows with a radiant smile, finding happiness in her new surroundings. Hubert and his fellow knights pump their fists, loudly pledging their eternal loyalty to their kind mistress. A loud rattle sounds as the carriages finally enter a bustling city street lined with tall buildings. Arm in arm with Enoch, the blonde Marchioness finally arrives at the vibrant port city of Saint Antrar. An attendant informs Enoch and Agatha that a ship belonging to House Nobilis has finally arrived. The dark-haired Marquis agrees to visit the vessel after the man asks if they wish to see it. Inside the moving carriage, a soft rustle sounds as Agatha looks over documents while sitting across from Enoch. The blonde Marchioness stops her reading, appearing deep in thought as she stares at the papers in hand. Agatha steals a glance at her husband, thinking she should probably inform him of something important in advance. Enoch reviews the documents, noting that the situation might be difficult if the commander is also arriving soon. Agatha hesitates to speak, her hand drifting toward her neck as she struggles to find the right words. A close-up of Agatha's striking purple eyes captures her lingering, uncertain gaze as she continues to watch Enoch. The Marquis remains silent, his focused expression fixed on the paperwork as the carriage continues its steady journey. A faint sliding sound echoes as Enoch closes his eyes, seemingly weary from the weight of his responsibilities. A heavy thud sounds as the carriage hits a bump, drawing Agatha's attention away from her inner turmoil. Agatha watches Enoch in silence, noticing how absorbed he remains in his duties despite the long, exhausting trip. A faded memory of their wedding ceremony surfaces, showing the couple standing before a priest in a grand hall. Agatha recalls a moment of intense intimacy, her husband's touch and gaze lingering in her mind as she reflects. She remembers how kindly Enoch has always treated her, even kneeling before her in a display of devotion. Returning to the present, Agatha looks away with a troubled expression, her feelings for Enoch growing more complex. Enoch gently reaches out, his fingers brushing against Agatha's cheek in a tender and unexpected gesture of affection. He suggests that Agatha should go and rest while he handles the upcoming meeting with the Navy. A soft thump-thump sounds in Agatha's chest as she leans into his touch, her heart racing at his closeness. The impressive carriage rumbles along the cobblestone streets as the sun begins to set over the busy city. Enoch demonstrates his chivalry by helping his wife descend from the carriage with a polite and steady hand. The Marquis reassures Agatha that he is not easily intimidated, even by a difficult commander, as he prepares to depart. Agatha offers a serene smile, feeling a sense of relief and comfort in her husband's strength and confidence. Enoch turns to leave, his tall figure casting a long shadow as he heads toward his next official meeting. A knight with glasses salutes the Marquis, confirming that their initial tasks have been completed with great success. Enoch dismisses the report with a curt nod before preparing to mount his horse and continue his duties. A large splash sounds as the House Nobilis ship cuts through the bright blue waves of the ocean. Fernand, the silver-haired second prince, stands regally on the deck of the vessel as it nears the shore. A maid informs Agatha that Fernand is indeed arriving, confirming the rumors that her ex-husband is nearby. The grand ship approaches Pahlavi Island, arriving at the port much faster than anyone had initially anticipated. Agatha stands by the water, her long blonde hair flowing in the wind as she watches the ship dock. A man with glasses reports that the current project is scheduled to be finished within the next 2 weeks. Enoch pulls Agatha into a sudden and protective embrace, surprising her with his fervent and physical show of love. A loud thump-thump sounds as Agatha blushes, her heart pounding against her ribs from her husband's overwhelming proximity. Enoch addresses a man named Chad, asking for the latest updates regarding the arrival of the foreign delegation. Agatha realizes with a pensive frown that they will likely be short on preparation time for the envoys. Enoch whispers his wife's name, his intense gaze fixed on her as he notices her growing worry and stress. He offers his help with a soft and sincere question, his closeness causing Agatha's face to flush deeply. In a chibi moment, Agatha nervously insists she can manage, while Enoch looks on with a skeptical expression. Enoch reassures her that greeting envoys was a regular part of his life on the battlefield, promising her success. Agatha looks up at him with a tender and grateful expression, her affection for him clearly visible. The scene shifts to the bustling stone docks where the delegation's supplies are being carefully unloaded and organized. A long line of armored soldiers stands at attention as Enoch and Agatha walk toward the arrival area. Phil Butler, the administrator of House Nobilis, offers a respectful and deep bow to the returning Marchioness.
Agatha remarks that it has been a long time since her coming-of-age ceremony, the last time she visited.
She looks around with curiosity, taking in the sights of the estate that was once so familiar to her. Phil Butler reacts with joy, his face lighting up after Agatha offers him a kind and thoughtful compliment. Enoch details his plan to inspect the construction site before they finally retire to the safety of the castle. A horse neighs loudly as Enoch prepares to lead his knights away to finalize the day's official business. Before leaving, Enoch lifts Agatha high into the air, sharing one final moment of playful and romantic intimacy. Enoch lifts Agatha up with a steady hand as he prepares to assist his wife onto her horse. The dark-haired Marquis watches Agatha with a focused and serious expression, ensuring she is comfortable and secure. Agatha blushes softly as she reassures her husband, promising that her ride will only last a short while. She mentions the difficulty of holding a parasol while riding, her eyes drifting toward the red-haired knight nearby. Enoch turns to the knight, his hand firmly gripping a document as he gives his final instructions for the day. He commands the knight to stay close to Agatha, citing the strength of the sun as a major concern. Agatha leans in to press a tender kiss against Enoch's cheek, a soft and affectionate farewell before they part. A radiant smile beams from Agatha's face, her purple eyes glowing with happiness and deep love for her husband. The scene shifts to the Palabi Island port construction site, where grand wooden buildings are rapidly taking shape. Phil confirms the 2-week completion timeline, while Agatha suggests they continue their inspection of the other construction sites. The group rides away from the busy port, their horses moving steadily past the impressive new architecture. Agatha observes the surroundings with a keen and professional eye, her golden hair flowing behind her as they ride. Pleased with the progress, the blonde Marquiness decides it is finally time for the group to return to the castle. A steady thud-thud sounds as Agatha leads Phil and the knights through the spacious and well-lit castle hallways. The grand staircase stands empty and silent, bathed in a warm glow that highlights the estate's immense luxury. Agatha issues a firm order to check the soldiers' deployment, wanting everything perfect before her husband's official return. She coordinates with Phil and Jesse to finalize preparations for the second prince's room and the banquet hall. A knight calls out to Agatha, interrupting her busy schedule as she manages the complex logistics of the castle. A soft clack-clack sounds as Enoch walks through the corridor, his tall and broad-shouldered figure casting a long shadow. The dark-haired Marquis appears deeply exhausted, the heavy burden of his leadership duties visible in his weary eyes. Agatha turns to him with a serene and welcoming smile, her presence immediately brightening the dim hallway. Enoch stops in his tracks, his intense and silent gaze fixed on his wife as if memorizing her face. A soft rustle sounds as Agatha moves close, her presence offering Enoch a much-needed moment of quiet comfort. Enoch reaches out with a gentle touch, his fingers tracing the line of Agatha's jaw with profound tenderness. He leans down to kiss her forehead, a quiet and devoted gesture that speaks volumes of his deep affection. Agatha beams with happiness, her face glowing with a warmth that seems to fill the entire hallway. She welcomes him home warmly, suggesting he rest in his room while she oversees the preparation of a meal. Enoch mentions his upcoming meeting, but insists that Agatha should eat first and take care of herself. He offers to share the meal with her if she is comfortable, his expression softening with genuine sincerity. Agatha agrees with a joyful and bright smile, promising to inform the butler of their plans to dine together. Back in her office, Agatha discusses the necessity of a formal reception for the unofficial but royal delegation. Phil suggests providing high-level hospitalities like a red carpet and traditional Eastern cuisine to welcome the prestigious guests. Agatha looks toward the window and realizes with a start that the sun has already set over the castle. Thinking of Enoch waiting for her, she decides to take a short break from her overwhelming administrative duties. A soft whoosh sounds as Agatha rushes to her room, quickly checking her hair and appearance in the mirror. A sudden creak sounds as she opens the door, gasping in shock at the sight of Enoch inside. A shirtless Enoch stands framed by blooming flowers, mentioning that he sensed her presence the moment she arrived. Agatha's face turns such a deep shade of crimson that she could probably provide the red carpet herself. The Marquis stands tall and imposing, his powerful and muscular frame partially obscured by the room's soft, hazy light. A sudden swish sounds as Enoch pulls her closer, his large hand resting firmly and possessively against her waist.
Agatha stammers her husband's name, her heart pounding against her ribs as she leans into his bare chest.
Enoch gently lifts her chin, asking in a low and concerned voice if she is overworking herself lately. Agatha looks away with a nervous and flustered expression, her thoughts a complete jumble from his overwhelming proximity.
She insists that she must return to her meeting, trying to regain her professional composure despite her racing heart.
Agatha adds a final, caring request for him to eat breakfast even if she is busy the next morning.
Enoch watches her walk away in silence, his focused gaze lingering on her until the door finally closes.
A heavy sigh escapes him as he runs a hand through his hair, clearly affected by their brief encounter.
A loud splash sounds as a grand ship cuts through the waves, nearing the shore with impressive speed.
The flag of the Manhwa Empire flutters proudly in the wind, signaling the arrival of the long-awaited foreign delegation. Agatha stands on the docks with Phil, confirming with a determined gaze that the envoys have finally reached the port. Agatha worries that Fernand might say something foolish while the silver-haired prince laughs mockingly in her thoughts. Agatha watches the ship from the shore, her expression calm despite the impending arrival of her ex-husband. Fernand stands regally in his ornate white and gold uniform, exuding an air of arrogant confidence and charm. Agatha offers a formal curtsy, greeting the second prince of the Manhwa Empire with cold and practiced grace. Fernand offers a mock-humble apology for his delight, his red eyes fixed intently on his former wife's face. Fernand bows low to thank Agatha for her hospitality, taking her hand under Enoch's watchful and protective gaze.
A soft tisk sounds as Fernand observes Agatha with a calculating smirk, his hand resting thoughtfully against his chin.
Agatha recommends Fernand explore the island before negotiations begin, keeping her distance and maintaining a strictly professional demeanor.
Fernand smiles broadly and agrees to follow her lead, his gaze lingering on her with an unsettling intensity.
A sudden flinch occurs as Fernand reaches for Agatha's hand again, prompting her to look at him with disdain.
Enoch gives quiet instructions to his knight, his back turned as he maintains a vigilant presence near the delegation.
A soft rustle sounds as Agatha informs Fernand that servants will guide him while she travels to the castle alone. Fernand leans in with a look of surprise, clearly intrigued by Agatha's cold dismissal and lack of warmth. Fernand's smirk widens as he watches Agatha walk away, seemingly amused by her refusal to engage with him personally. Agatha frowns deeply, her frustration with Fernand's arrogant behavior visible in her sharp and weary purple eyes. Agatha remains silent and tense, her annoyance with the silver-haired prince growing as the diplomatic mission continues. Agatha coldly instructs Marie to join her in the carriage, wanting to avoid any further private interaction with Fernand. Fernand looks slightly annoyed as he touches the carriage door, his earlier playful expression replaced by a pensive scowl. Agatha sits inside the carriage with her maid, her expression distant as she prepares for the journey to the castle. Agatha firmly commands Fernand not to address her by her first name, establishing clear boundaries between them. Agatha explains that she is currently serving as a formal envoy, demanding the respect her official position deserves. A soft tisk sounds as Fernand chuckles at her formality, finding her stern and professional attitude quite entertaining. Fernand suggests that calling her Madame feels more intimate than using her formal royal title, further provoking her. Agatha questions the speed of his marriage while noting his suspicious level of information regarding her current home. The carriage rumbles toward the castle as Agatha points out Fernand's unhealthy interest in his divorced ex-wife's affairs.
A soft sigh sounds as Fernand looks out the window, whispering Agatha's name with a mournful and longing expression.
Agatha sharply corrects him, insisting he use her title of Marquise to maintain the proper distance between them. A quick tap-tap sounds as the carriage arrives at the castle, signaling the end of their tense private journey. Agatha exits the carriage, warning Fernand to refrain from any actions that might lead to a public misunderstanding. Enoch welcomes Agatha home with a respectful greeting, his presence immediately offering her a sense of relief and safety. Agatha asks Enoch if the next agenda item has been explained to the prince, transitioning back to her duties. Enoch asks if anything happened during the escort, but Agatha reassures him that nothing of note occurred. Agatha tells Enoch not to worry, suspecting the prince finally realizes the immense value of the woman he lost. Agatha warns that Fernand might use his lingering feelings as leverage, but she resolves to stay focused and positive. Enoch expresses his relief that Agatha understands the prince's true motives, while the butler approaches them with news. A sudden whoosh sounds as Agatha turns in surprise, her attention captured by an unexpected interruption from the staff. Agatha decides to inspect the banquet preparations herself, promising to see her husband again later that evening.
A soft tap-tap sounds as Agatha walks away quickly, her mind already focused on the logistics of the banquet.
Enoch watches his wife depart with a serious and protective gaze, his concern for her well-being evident. The scene shifts to Agatha's dressing table, where various cosmetics and perfumes are arranged for the evening's preparations. Agatha sits before her mirror while her maid carefully brushes her long blonde hair for the upcoming banquet. Agatha complains that Fernand never listens to a word she says, frustrated by his persistent and arrogant behavior. Agatha relaxes her feet in a scented bath, pondering the troubling possibility that Fernand still has lingering feelings. Agatha expresses her hope that nothing troublesome arises from Fernand's presence, wanting only a peaceful and successful delegation. Agatha looks up in surprise at a sudden knock, her purple eyes wide as she is interrupted mid-thought. Enoch enters the room dressed in a formal gray and white suit, appearing tall and impressive for the banquet. Enoch stops in his tracks, a look of stunned amazement crossing his face as he sees his beautiful wife. Agatha stands in a breathtaking white floral gown, looking radiant and elegant as she prepares for the official event. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch offers his hand to Agatha, his expression softening with deep and visible admiration. Arm in arm, Enoch and Agatha walk toward the banquet hall, ready to face the foreign delegation together. Agatha looks for the prince while her husband mentions his departure with the foreign delegation. Agatha reflects on the prince's absence, her gaze lowering as she considers the implications of his actions. A soft tap sounds as Enoch and Agatha enter the banquet hall, meeting Fernand and his attendants. Fernand greets Agatha with cold formality, his crimson eyes fixed on her with palpable and mounting tension. Fernand remarks on her choice to accept the Marquis's escort over his own, his jealousy clearly surfacing. Agatha notices a shift in the air, looking up at her husband with a questioning and curious expression. Enoch's expression darkens with suppressed rage as Agatha realizes his irritation stems entirely from the prince's presence. Agatha politely declines Fernand's earlier offers, maintaining her professional distance while staying close to her husband. Narration questions if Enoch's reaction is simple distaste for an ex-husband or deep-seated and romantic jealousy. The trio stands in a tense standoff at the entrance of the grand and ornate dining hall. Fernand reluctantly accepts her boundaries, though his gaze remains fixed and unsettlingly intense during their interaction. The banquet begins with a toast as Fernand raises his glass to the assembled and prestigious guests. A nobleman praises Agatha's thoughtful menu, noting her excellent hospitality toward the visiting Mynheercore Empire delegation. Agatha offers a polite and graceful laugh, masking the underlying tension of the evening's formal events. A soft touch sounds as Enoch places his hand firmly over Agatha's, reclaiming her attention and affection. Agatha beams at her husband, expressing how his support allowed her to prepare the banquet with peace. Enoch remains humble, insisting he was merely performing his duty as the host and her devoted husband. Fernand seethes in silence, his pride wounded by the Marquise's effortless grace and high status. Fernand's anger boils as he refuses to believe a mere Marquis could ever surpass an imperial prince. Enoch appears composed, though the narrative hints at the deep-rooted issues he has yet to fully solve. Fernand suddenly breaks the civility, asking Agatha if he isn't clearly the superior man compared to Enoch. Fernand addresses her by her first name, further escalating the public confrontation in front of the guests. A thorny visual frames Fernand's demand to know why he isn't considered better than the Marquis. Fernand admits his regret over their divorce, prompting Enoch to sharply question if he is issuing a challenge. A sudden flinch occurs as Agatha reacts to the escalating and dangerous hostility between her husbands. Agatha is horrified that the conflict is becoming public, her purple eyes wide with shock and concern. Enoch's patience snaps at Ferdinand's blatant disrespect and his open desire for Agatha during the formal meal. Enoch kisses Agatha's hand with possessive devotion, officially accepting the prince's challenge for a duel. A stunned silence falls over the table as Agatha and Fernand process Enoch's bold and protective declaration. A heavy atmosphere settles over the banquet hall, while the guests watch the unfolding and scandalous drama. Fernand glares with unbridled resentment, his face contorted by the humiliation of the Marquise's challenge. Enoch maintains a cold and steady gaze, his eyes reflecting a dangerous and intense level of protectiveness. A sudden thud sounds as Fernand stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor in visible anger. The butler observes the prince with worry, thinking Fernand has completely lost his mind and composure. The count bows deeply, offering a hasty apology for the prince's supposedly exhausted and irrational behavior. Enoch dismisses the apology, his sharp gaze lingering on the departing and disgraced royal guest. Enoch demands such disrespect never occurs again, his voice echoing through the now silent and empty hallway. A rhythmic tap-tap sounds as Enoch leads Agatha away, their private tension remaining high after the dinner. Agatha calls out to Enoch, who insists he fully understands the prince's lingering motives regarding her. A sudden thud sounds as Enoch pins Agatha against the wall, his proximity becoming sudden and overwhelming. Enoch confesses that the situation is driving him to the brink of losing his sanity and self-control. A soft rustle sounds as he leans in close, his focus entirely on Agatha's trembling lips.
Enoch kisses Agatha with a desperate and deep passion, releasing his pent-up jealousy and profound love. He lifts Agatha into his arms, their physical connection intensifying in the quiet and dark hallway. Enoch whispers Agatha's name against her skin, his voice thick with devotion and unyielding desire. They move to the bed, the Marquis's large frame looming over his radiant and blushing wife. Agatha looks away with a flustered and heated expression, her heart racing from his intense physical presence. Enoch reminds her of the pain of her past absence, his words filled with deep and aching longing. He leans down further, his gaze locking onto hers as he prepares to close the distance again.
A soft sigh sounds as they share a final, intimate moment of deep and unyielding romantic affection.
Enoch and Agatha share a passionate kiss, their eyes closed in a moment of deep and romantic intimacy. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch pulls Agatha closer, deepening their kiss with a sense of overwhelming. A sudden thud sounds as Enoch gently pins Agatha to the bed, holding her hands firmly in his. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch moves his head closer, his focus entirely on the beautiful woman he loves.
Agatha whispers her husband's name as Enoch's gaze softens, his touch trailing down her side with gentle possessiveness.
A soft rustle sounds as Enoch moves his hand down Agatha's leg, their intimate connection deepening in the bedroom. Agatha gazes up at Enoch with wide purple eyes, the air thick with desire and their shared romantic history. Enoch leans in, his face inches from Agatha's as he prepares to kiss her again in the soft light. Agatha looks up at her husband with a dazed and loving expression, fully surrendering to his passionate presence. Enoch looks down at Agatha with a blushing, tender expression, reaffirming their commitment to one another as a married couple. A sudden thud sounds as Fernand slams a green wine bottle onto the table in a drunken fit of rage. Fernand seethes with resentment, outraged that the Marquis has the audacity to threaten an imperial prince over his ex-wife. Fernand drunkenly shouts for more wine while his frantic attendants try to remind him of the upcoming council meeting. A sudden thud sounds as Fernand collapses onto a sofa, his face flushed red from alcohol and mounting frustration. Fernand's eyes burn with fury as he continues to dwell on the perceived insult from the Marquis earlier that evening. Fernand rages against the no-name bastard who dared to challenge him, his room cluttered with half-empty bottles. Fernand's jealousy reaches a boiling point as he refuses to accept a mere Marquis standing at Agatha's side. Fernand recalls Agatha's warning to avoid any misunderstandings, the memory only fueling his irrational and desperate obsession. A sudden thud sounds as Fernand stands abruptly, his movements startling his nervous staff during his drunken outburst. Fernand's attendants watch in horror as he vows to win Agatha back, completely ignoring their pleas to stop. Fernand demands more wine before suddenly changing his mind, fueled by a reckless and drunken impulse to find Agatha. The scene shifts back to the quiet bedroom where Agatha and Enoch are asleep together in peaceful, blue-tinted silence. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch wakes up, alerted by a sudden and persistent noise outside their private chambers. A sharp click sounds as the guards enter the room, informing Enoch that he is now awake amidst the chaos. A quick tap sounds as Enoch stands in his dark blue robe, his expression cold and ready for a confrontation. A red-haired guard explains the situation to Enoch, glancing away as the sounds of struggle grow louder outside. Fernand shouts demands at the guards, trying to force his way into the room while refusing to be stopped. A sudden thud sounds as Fernand struggles against the guards, his drunken desperation making him violent and irrational. Fernand screams for Agatha to come out and talk, his public outburst creating a scandalous scene in the hallway. Enoch's expression darkens with icy contempt, finding the prince's pathetic and drunken behavior absolutely ridiculous and beneath them. A sharp click sounds as Fernand freezes, his red eyes widening in shock as Enoch finally steps into the hallway. Fernand shouts a demand to know what Enoch is doing in Agatha's chambers, his logic clouded by heavy intoxication. Enoch stands tall with a composed but lethal gaze, looking down at the disheveled and disgraceful prince. Fernand trembles with impotent rage, his face contorted as he tries to maintain some semblance of imperial authority. Enoch looks at the prince with weary disdain, thinking that there is no point reasoning with a drunken madman. Enoch scolds his guards for allowing the prince to cause such a scene, questioning their definition of loyalty. A heavy silence falls as Enoch looms over the smaller prince, his presence effectively ending the loud and public struggle. Fernand continues to scream Agatha's name, his voice echoing through the hall despite the firm grip of the guards. A rhythmic tap-tap sounds as Enoch approaches Fernand, his silent presence more intimidating than any spoken threat. Enoch addresses the prince with chilling formality, offering to assist him back to his own chambers for his health.
An attendant questions Enoch's bold actions, only for the Marquis to sharply ask if they will be the escort. The nervous staff is silenced as Enoch demands they get out of the way if they are not helping.
A sudden whoosh sounds as Enoch roughly covers Fernand's mouth, physically silencing the prince's embarrassing and loud outbursts.
Enoch's cold gaze remains fixed on the prince, addressing him with a level of chilling and forced respect. Fernand shouts a question of madness as Enoch prepares to lead him away from the lady's private quarters.
Fernand stands in the hall, trembling with shock and humiliation after being physically dragged away by the powerful Marquis.
A rhythmic top-top sounds as Enoch walks away, disgusted that the prince would disturb a married lady's room. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch pauses, asking Fernand how he should interpret these inappropriate nighttime actions. Enoch's voice is cold as he warns Fernand to stop paying attention to Agatha, choosing the sword over words.
Fernand's eyes widen in fear as Enoch promises that the prince will be the one to bear the consequences.
Fernand seethes with resentment as a warning to think carefully about his future actions hangs in the air.
A sharp click sounds as Enoch enters the room, coming to a sudden halt with a quiet thump.
Sitting on the bed, Agatha reassures her husband that Fernand was the one causing a public scene. Enoch regrets waking Agatha, but she tenderly tells him not to feel guilty for his protective actions.
Agatha gently touches Enoch's face, warmly reminding him that he has already done more than enough for her.
Chibi-style Agatha complains about the prince's foolishness while Enoch dismisses his behavior as pathetic and beneath them. Agatha asks if Fernand returned to his room, and Enoch confirms he personally escorted the prince back. Agatha remains worried, doubting the prince went quietly and fearing further unpleasantness from his obsessive behavior. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch kisses Agatha's hand, promising that the situation was handled without further issue. Enoch pulls Agatha into a passionate kiss, their shared intimacy deepening in the quiet of their bedroom. Leaning close, Enoch encourages Agatha to get more rest while promising that everything is now taken care of.
A soft rustle sounds as Agatha embraces her husband while Enoch vows to seek compensation from the Emperor.
A soft chuckle sounds as they share a final, tender moment before the story shifts to the next day. The Grand Palace looms under a bright sky as the delegation's formal negotiations begin in the morning. The atmosphere is tense as Agatha and Enoch sit across from the silver-haired prince at the negotiation table. Agatha takes a slow, elegant sip of tea, maintaining her perfect composure despite the awkward social situation. Fernand watches her with a grumpy expression, his arms crossed in visible annoyance at the proceedings. An ornate frame poses the question of what scandalous events truly took place during the previous night. A quick top-top sounds as Agatha closes her files, ending the meeting and suggesting they resume tomorrow. A sudden thud sounds as Fernand stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor in his haste. Agatha and Enoch watch the disgruntled prince depart, the tension finally beginning to dissipate from the room. Agatha notes how well-behaved Fernand seemed, while Enoch darkly reminds her that he handled the situation personally. A rhythmic top-top sounds as Enoch stands, and Agatha realizes his taking care of it involved a threat. A soft whoosh sounds as Enoch extends his hand to his wife, his gaze filled with devotion. A rhythmic thump-thump sounds as Agatha looks up at her husband, her heart racing from his intense presence. The focus shifts to a formal agreement, its elegant script outlining the terms for the new trade hub. Agatha signs the document with practiced grace, successfully securing the initiative for her family's rising house. Fernand begrudgingly adds his signature to the trade route contract, officially ending the long and difficult negotiation. An ornate border confirms that House Nobilis has emerged as the true victor of the diplomatic agreement. Dressed in a stunning purple gown, Agatha stands with an air of triumph and regal authority. A golden light frames the announcement that the couple has finally returned to the imperial capital. The grand and luxurious Nobilis Estate No. 1 stands tall, welcoming the successful couple back home. A rhythmic top-top sounds as Enoch and Agatha walk arm in arm through the halls of their home. Agatha asks if Enoch is on leave, and he asks if there is something she wants to do. A bright smile lights up Agatha's face as she enjoys a rare and peaceful moment with her husband. Madame Chalet greets the couple with infectious enthusiasm, her hands clasped in delight at their arrival. Looking elegant in their fine clothes, Enoch and Agatha arrive at the Madame's exclusive high-fashion boutique. Madame Chalet leads them up the stairs, eager to share the latest news and fashion from the capital. The boutique is filled with mirrors and luxury garments, the perfect setting for the capital's social elite. A quick clap sounds as the Madame praises Agatha's negotiations and mentions a grand royal banquet. Agatha notes that the Madame is incredibly quick with news while they settle in for their consultation. Madame Chalet displays a range of colorful and vibrant fabric samples for Agatha to consider for her gowns. Agatha rests her chin on her hand,
carefully weighing her options as her purple eyes scan the fabrics.
More delicate and ornate fabric patterns are shown, reflecting the opulence of the upcoming social season. Agatha thinks to herself that brighter colors should be the fashion trend for this time of the year. Turning to the Madame, Agatha asks if anything specific occurred in the capital during her recent absence.
Madame Chalet points out a somber, dark-patterned fabric, noting its unusual and sober tone for the season.
Agatha looks surprised as the Madame reveals the new fabric arrived today from the mysterious Nuda company. A vision of the Nuta ladies in a dark library suggests their calculated return to high society.
Agatha's gaze sharpens with suspicion as she realizes the political landscape of the capital is shifting again.
Madame Chalet praises the high-quality fabric sample, but notes its somber tone would not suit a young noblewoman.
A quick tap-tap sounds as Agatha points to a pink floral fabric, selecting it as her preferred design choice.
Enoch observes the selection with a composed gaze, simply stating that the elegant floral pattern looks good on her. Agatha excitedly presents the pink sample to Enoch, eager to begin the design process with this specific selection. A soft whoosh sounds as Agatha presents another light blue fabric sample, suggesting it would also look great on Enoch. 3 elegant fabric rolls, maroon, white with patterns, and blue, are displayed prominently on the boutique's consultation table. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch holds a lace sample against Agatha's shoulder, noting it would look exquisite on her. Enoch maintains a steady, devoted gaze as he participates in the fashion consultation, his attention fixed entirely on Agatha. A rhythmic thump-thump sounds as Agatha's heart races, the close proximity and focused attention from her husband causing a blush. Agatha looks away with shimmering purple eyes, her face flushing as she feels the intensity of Enoch's affectionate gaze. Agatha asks if they should use the chosen fabrics for the imperial ball, and Enoch warmly agrees with her choice. Agatha requests the design sketches from Madame Chalet, who moves toward an ornate cabinet filled with colorful fabric rolls. Agatha models a stunning, off-the-shoulder pink lace gown, looking over her shoulder with an air of ethereal, regal elegance. The focus shifts to the intricate lace details and layered ruffles of Agatha's voluminous and opulent pink ballroom gown. Enoch watches his wife in her new attire, a moment of stunned silence passing as he takes in her beauty. A close-up reveals the delicate floral brooch and pearl accents adorning the neck of Enoch's matching formal evening attire. Madame Chalet and her assistants clasp their hands in delight, praising the couple as a true high-fashion masterpiece. Agatha stands elegantly in her pink gown, noting that their matching attire will make them a striking imperial couple. A sharp click sounds as Enoch's eyes narrow slightly with an intense gaze, observing his wife's radiant appearance. The focus lingers on the delicate lace and pearl-studded neckline of Agatha's exquisite and sophisticated ballroom gown. Enoch stands closely behind Agatha, his expression softening as he gazes down at his wife with quiet, lethal admiration. Enoch gently places his hand on Agatha's waist, whispering her name as they share a moment of intimate connection. Enoch suddenly insists on adding a shawl to Agatha's attire, catching her off guard with his unexpected protective gesture. Agatha examines the long, flowing skirt of her dress, questioning the necessity of a shawl or cape for the ensemble. Enoch leans in close, claiming she will be cold, while a bewildered Agatha reminds him that it is summer. Enoch hums thoughtfully, his gaze fixed on Agatha's exposed shoulders as he considers the dress's reveal far too daring. An ornate border explains that while the ball is at summer's end, Agatha remains skeptical about the cold weather. Enoch pulls Agatha closer with a gentle embrace, insisting she stay indoors while she smiles at his endearing overprotectiveness. A soft smack sounds as Enoch presses a tender kiss to Agatha's hand, his devotion on full display. The scene transitions to the Grand Imperial Palace, noting that a messenger arrived from the capital the previous night. Dressed in a yellow gown, Agatha stands beside Enoch, signaling that their brief vacation has officially come to an end. An ornate frame confirms the return to duty, stating that House Nobilis's peaceful retreat is finally over. Agatha confirms the timing of her audience at noon while standing before the palace's grand blue-toned exterior. Enoch prepares for the official proceedings, his expression turning serious as he readies himself for the upcoming imperial meetings. Agatha smiles warmly, promising to send word as soon as her official business at the palace is concluded. Agatha sits patiently while 2 attendants meticulously style her blonde hair and apply makeup for her imperial audience. A soft tap-tap sounds as Agatha closes her eyes, reflecting on how they always make time for shared meals. Now dressed in a regal mint green gown with a lace shawl, Agatha stands ready for her formal confrontation. Guards bow respectfully as Agatha approaches the massive, ornate white and gold doors of the Emperor's private chambers. The Emperor of the Minukor Empire sits on his golden throne, exuding an air of weary and stern authority. Agatha sits across from the Emperor, maintaining her composure while he glances at her during their formal tea service. Clearing his throat, the Emperor mentions hearing the news regarding the second prince's rude behavior toward Agatha. Agatha takes a composed sip of tea, calmly confirming the Emperor's inquiry about Prince Fernand's scandalous nighttime outburst. The Emperor's expression turns troubled as he ponders the situation, his hand resting thoughtfully against his bearded chin.
A soft slurp sounds as Agatha enjoys her tea, waiting for the Emperor to address the diplomatic fallout.
The surface of the tea reflects Agatha's serious expression as she considers the restored relationship between the two empires.
A memory of a screaming Fernand being dragged away by guards highlights the sheer absurdity of his recent actions.
Agatha feels a surge of irritation, her face darkening as she recalls the prince's embarrassing and invasive behavior. The Emperor nervously attempts to frame the upcoming banquet as a celebration of the successful, unofficial negotiations.
Agatha holds up a no sign in a chibi-style protest as the Emperor insists the gala is for her.
The Emperor praises Agatha's excellent execution of the imperial command, his arms raised in a display of excitement.
Agatha suggests granting a bonus to the knights who accompanied her, her expression calm as she holds her tea.
A sudden gasp sounds as the Emperor is moved by Agatha's consideration for the hardworking knights. The Emperor mentions seating Marquis Aratus at the head table during his first appearance in the imperial court.
A quick click sounds as Agatha sets down her cup, clarifying the Marquis was seated with the ministers.
Agatha listens intently, her sharp purple eyes reflecting her strategic mind as she navigates the Emperor's political talk. A startled shout sounds as the Emperor reacts to the prestigious center seating arrangement for the Marquis. The court scene illustrates the symbolic power of the center seat, highlighting the Marquis's rising influence in society. The Emperor acknowledges that the Marquis's prestige in the court has risen significantly following his recent successes. Agatha prompts her godfather to consider what else he might offer to further reward House Nobilis. The Emperor nervously suggests a tax exemption for the Marquis's existing territory as an additional imperial reward. Agatha points out a detail the Emperor overlooked, while he asks for clarification on her meaning.
Agatha's gaze remains steady and sharp, her expression unreadable as she continues to negotiate for her family's interests.
The Emperor and Agatha continue their discussion over tea, the atmosphere formal yet familiar between the godparents. Agatha's regal presence dominates the room as she maintains her composure during the high-stakes political consultation. Agatha's gloved hand grips her ornate teacup, showcasing her controlled and sophisticated demeanor during the audience. The Emperor looks on with a mix of respect and wariness, acknowledging Agatha's formidable presence and sharp wit. An ornate border outlines the formal announcement of the treaty, symbolizing the solid relationship between the two empires. The Emperor notes the Manukor Empire expects Agatha's presence at the ball, while she watches him with suspicion. Agatha agrees to attend the upcoming celebration, but only on the condition that her husband accompanies her.
A soft sigh sounds as the Emperor settles into his throne, admiring his goddaughter's incredibly strong will.
Agatha playfully reminds her godfather that he is being too much, her purple eyes shimmering with hidden amusement.
A focused sounds as the Emperor realizes Agatha would not have pushed so far without good reason. Agatha remains silent, her elegant profile framed against the bright palace interior as the negotiation reaches its end. A soft sip sounds as Agatha enjoys her tea, closing the formal session with a sense of quiet triumph. The Emperor admits his oversight and suggests they move on to more pleasant topics for their afternoon together. A warm smile graces Agatha's face as she expresses her satisfaction with the wonderful outcome of their meeting. A soft rustle sounds as the Emperor invites Agatha to join him for a long overdue celebratory lunch. Agatha pauses thoughtfully, looking down at her teacup while she considers the invitation from her royal godfather. A quick nod sounds as Agatha asks if it would be possible for her husband to join them. The scene transitions to a grand lunch where the Emperor, Agatha, and Enoch enjoy a lavish imperial meal. A golden light frames the official start of the Grand Imperial Palace Ball, the capital's social event. Guests at the ball chatter excitedly, their eyes wide with anticipation as the evening's main guests arrive. An announcer's voice rings out across the ballroom, formally presenting Marquis Aratus and his stunning wife, Agatha. A soft step sounds as Agatha enters in her exquisite pink lace gown, immediately capturing everyone's rapt attention. Walking arm in arm, Enoch and Agatha make a striking entrance, their matching attire embodying imperial elegance and power. Noblewomen whisper in delight, admiring the perfect couple as they grace the ballroom with their regal presence. Agatha greets the crowd with a triumphant smile, her presence signaling House Nobilis' return to the capital's elite. An ornate frame notes that high society is abuzz with news of Agatha's matching dress and successful negotiations. A bright ba-bam sounds as the blonde crown prince approaches the couple with a cheerful and playful greeting. Dressed in a majestic blue coat, the crown prince welcomes his guests with his signature charm and ease. The crown prince exchanges greetings with Agatha and Enoch, his expression friendly as he joins the formal gathering. The blonde prince playfully teases Agatha about her blissful married life, noting that the entire capital is talking. Agatha lightheartedly counters the prince's teasing, suggesting the famous playboy focus on his own many romantic partners. The crown prince laughs at the sharp rebuttal, while Enoch stands protectively beside his radiant and witty wife. Walking together, the trio attracts the gaze of every guest, noting the deep bond between the imperial family. The grand ballroom stretches out as the main players navigate the crowded gala, their status elevated by the night. The crown prince reflects on how long it has been since he attended such a grand imperial ball. A quick glance sounds as the prince watches the crowd, his sharp blue eyes scanning the social elite. Whispers continue to ripple through the ballroom as the guests observe the powerful and coordinated Marquis and Marchioness. The blonde crown prince questions if they are referring to Duke Theodore Nuta, seeking confirmation of the ballroom gossip. Enoch notes it was impossible not to know, while the chibi crown prince expresses shock at their shared secret. Under the weight of countless judging eyes, Agatha reflects on the intense scrutiny she faces throughout the entire evening. The ash-brown-haired Duke Theodore Nuta stands among the ball guests, his expression uncharacteristically somber and deeply focused. Standing firmly beside Enoch, Agatha decides to face the approaching confrontation head-on while she still has the opportunity. Enoch pauses momentarily, his sharp gaze fixed ahead as he senses a sudden shift in the ballroom's social atmosphere. Duke Theodore Nuta bows with formal grace, his eyes closed as he prepares to address his former wife. The crown prince greets the duke with a friendly inquiry, asking if he has finally recovered his health recently. Agatha maintains her regal composure as she formally acknowledges the man who was once her husband as Duke Nuta. Looking pained, Duke Nuta offers a strained greeting to the woman he now must address as Marchioness Aratus. The duke reveals he has an urgent message for Agatha, drawing the attention of those standing nearby. A protective hand rests on Agatha's shoulder as Enoch makes his presence felt during the awkward encounter. Agatha stands firmly beside her husband, her violet eyes reflecting a mix of surprise and wary curiosity. The blonde crown prince reflects on the irony of the situation, noting how things changed after the divorce. Theodore insists he cannot allow any harm to reach Agatha, despite her no longer being part of his family. A sharp intake of breath sounds as the duke grips his arm, delivering a stern warning about upcoming threats. Theodore recalls his grandmother and mother speaking unfavorably of Agatha, confirming his family's lingering hostility toward her. Agatha listens intently as the duke admits the private conversation among his kinswomen was certainly not in her favor. A final warning echoes as Theodore urges Agatha to remain extremely cautious of anyone associated with the Nuta family. Sweat beads on Theodore's face as he struggles with the weight of his duty versus his past mistakes. A soft footfall sounds as the duke walks away, leaving Agatha and Enoch to process his unexpected warning. Agatha reflects on the bitter irony of Theodore finally taking her side, now that she is another man's wife. A soft sigh escapes Agatha as she closes her eyes, momentarily overwhelmed by the weight of her past. A gentle touch sounds as Enoch leans in, his voice filled with genuine concern as he checks her well-being. Agatha explains that she was merely caught off guard by the duke's strange and suddenly protective behavior tonight. Anticipating trouble, Agatha considers the threat posed by the ladies of House Nuta returning for the social season. The crown prince notices new arrivals, deciding it is time for him to return to his official duties. The prince offers a polite farewell, disappearing into the grand ballroom as the evening's main events continue. Strains of elegant music fill the air as the Imperial Orchestra begins playing for the formal dance. Enoch and Agatha begin to dance, though she worries his mood has been dampened by the Duke's arrival. Enoch looks down at his wife, expressing his belief that Theodore likely had valid reasons for his warning. As they glide across the floor, Agatha notes how rarely they have the chance to share such quiet moments. A soft thump-thump sounds as Enoch pulls her close, his intense gaze causing Agatha to catch her breath. Agatha wonders if his protectiveness stems from true feelings or simply his duty to her as her legal husband. A soft flush colors Agatha's cheeks as she hides her face against Enoch's shoulder, overcome by sudden emotion. The scene transitions to the royal banquet table where the crown prince enjoys a meal with various nobles. Enoch's expression remains stoic and regal as he represents House Aratus at the center of the political stage. A quick glance sounds as Enoch keeps his eyes on the ballroom, never losing track of his surroundings. A soft rustle sounds as Enoch drapes his coat over Agatha's shoulders, insisting she stay warm. Enoch bows respectfully to the crown prince, accepting the royal invitation to join the official proceedings. Agatha watches from a distance, realizing Enoch will be occupied with long political conversations for some time. Enoch feels deeply honored by the prince's praise, though his mind remains focused on the safety of his wife.
Agatha nods in agreement, accepting that she must navigate the social gathering independently while Enoch is busy.
A sharp clink sounds as Enoch toasts with the other nobles, solidifying his rising influence within the court.
Agatha turns away with a swirling movement, realizing Enoch will be detained at the head table for quite a while.
Making her way through the crowd, Agatha observes the other guests as they continue to whisper about her. A group of noblewomen sit together on a velvet sofa, their eyes following Agatha with keen, judgmental interest. Agatha joins a red-haired lady on the sofa, accepting an invitation to discuss the evening's unfolding drama. Whispering behind her fan, Agatha agrees that they must keep a very close watch on House Nuda's movements.
Agatha's purple eye gleams with determination as she prepares to face the hidden schemes of her enemies head-on.
As the gala continues, narration details the families preparing for their autumn debut, alongside neutral contacts. A quick glance sounds as Agatha scans the room, wondering if Enoch is still occupied at the royal table. Agatha watches the head table from afar, noticing the political elite engaged in deep conversations across the grand ballroom. Enoch sits with impeccable posture, his stoic expression hiding his constant awareness of the social dynamics around him. A sudden snap sounds as Enoch shifts his gaze, sensing an unexpected approach from within the crowded gala.
An "ah" sounds as Agatha is interrupted during her conversation with the other noblewomen on the velvet sofa. Agatha's purple eyes sharpen with focus as she prepares to address the sudden disruption in her social surroundings.
A soft sip sounds as Enoch enjoys his wine, though narration reveals he is being watched by hidden eyes. A soft rustle sounds as a pink-haired woman in a frilled dress makes a bold move toward the Marquess. The pink-haired woman approaches Enoch's table with a nervous greeting, addressing him directly despite the formal setting. Dressed in a delicate pink gown, the woman reveals she has an urgent matter to discuss with Enoch. Enoch's expression turns cold and unyielding, offering no warmth to the woman standing before his table. A sharp stop sounds as Agatha's attention is captured by the scene unfolding at the head of the room. Maintaining her cool, Agatha instructs Lady Kate to begin tracking financial flows, while she handles the immediate social threat. Lady Kate whispers to Agatha, identifying the bold newcomer as Lady Lucy Heiress, daughter of a prominent count. Agatha recalls how Lucy was once engaged to Enoch, only for her father to callously break it upon his deployment. A sharp snap sounds as Agatha closes her fan, disgusted by Lucy's audacity in approaching Enoch after her betrayal. Lucy stands alone before the seated men, her presence drawing the judging eyes of everyone in the grand ballroom. Lady Kate warns that rumors will spread quickly, asking if Agatha is truly prepared for the fallout. Agatha remains unfazed, coolly stating that social rumors are well within her ability to manage and control. Enoch fixes Lucy with a piercing stare, demanding she speak her piece without further delay or hesitation. Lucy offers a stuttering thanks, clearly intimidated by the Marquess's cold and formidable presence at the banquet. A quick blink sounds as Lucy offers belated congratulations on Enoch's victory, though her voice lacks true confidence. Dark swirling shadows frame the narrative, warning that Agatha will certainly not find this conversation pleasing. Lucy looks around in sudden confusion, noticing that Agatha has vanished from the sofa where she was just sitting. A bead of sweat forms on Enoch's face as he keeps his gaze fixed ahead, maintaining his stern composure. The velvet sofa stands empty where Agatha once sat, her sudden departure signaling an imminent intervention. A soft step sounds as Agatha approaches, while Lucy conveys her father's request for a private apology meeting. A soft step sounds as Agatha looms behind Lucy, who promises her father will abide by any royal demands. A soft brush sounds as Agatha places a proprietary hand on Enoch's shoulder, asserting her place by his side. Agatha looks down at the intruder with a chilling gaze, asking Enoch for the identity of this unfamiliar woman. With a sharp and regal tone, Agatha claims she has no memory of ever meeting the woman before them. Startled by the sudden appearance of the Marquess, Lucy stammers out an apology for her intrusion. Lucy explains her past connection, but Agatha smiles coldly, demanding to know exactly what connection she refers to. Enoch rises to stand beside his wife, placing a protective arm around her as they face the pink-haired intruder. Lucy is haunted by the memory of the engagement ending abruptly while Enoch was away at the war. A quick look sounds as Enoch dismisses Lucy's claims, stating their past connection is irrelevant to his current life. Agatha adds a sharp barb, noting she has heard various unflattering rumors regarding Lucy's family and their past choices. A soft gasp sounds from the crowd as Agatha realizes Lucy was likely sent as a spy out of desperation. Agatha resolves to return every insult Enoch suffered, using her newfound status to crush the Heiress family's social standing. A soft slide sounds as Agatha adjusts her lace cuffs, preparing to deliver a final, devastating social blow. A heavy thump sounds as Agatha questions if Lucy truly believed the Rira's family would ever be forgiven.
Agatha declares that a sincere apology requires the family head's presence, not the desperate appearance of a former fiancé.
A sharp huff sounds as Lucy bows her head in defeat, crushed by Agatha's overwhelming authority and logic. Turning back to her husband, Agatha asks with genuine curiosity if the brief encounter managed to bother him. Agatha's purple eyes soften slightly as she looks up at Enoch, seeking his honest reaction to the confrontation. The couple stands united at the center of the ballroom, their coordinated presence silencing the remaining gossiping guests.
Agatha reflects on their daily lives, from sharing a bedroom to their synchronized schedules and shared meals.
Despite the subtle tension between them, Agatha acknowledges the deep bond reinforced by their matching attire and public unity. A soft rustle sounds as Agatha smiles, admitting she only intervened because of Lucy's unexpected and tactless appearance. Agatha bows respectfully, apologizing to His Majesty for the disturbance caused by the recent social confrontation. His Majesty smiles dismissively while holding his wine, placing the fault entirely on the desperate Count Reirus.
Agatha offers a polite parting smile, deciding it is time to return to her seat as things settle.
A soft swish sounds as Agatha turns and walks away, leaving Enoch behind with a cool, detached expression. Enoch watches her go with a troubled face, noting that Agatha seems to be in a bad mood. Returning to her companions, Agatha questions the potential fallout of today's incident and how far rumors will spread. Lady Kate notes the attention, but believes it was perfectly natural for a wife to step in today. A playful wink sounds as Lady Kate and Madame Chalet plan to manage the social narrative with perfection. A servant approaches the ladies, addressing the Marquioness Aratus to deliver an update from the Marquis.
Agatha explains that the Marquis has overindulged and intends to return home early, signaling their departure from the gala.
Enoch bows respectfully to the head table, taking his formal leave from His Majesty and the other nobles.
A soft swish sounds as Agatha lifts her skirts, ordering their carriage prepared for an immediate return home.
A series of clatter-clatter sounds echo as the horse-drawn carriage carries the couple through the moonlit palace grounds. A rhythmic thump-thump sounds from the wheels as Agatha and Enoch sit in a heavy, contemplative silence. Agatha looks away with a troubled gaze while Enoch stares at her, his mind filled with unspoken questions. Agatha finally speaks, asking her husband if he is upset because of the encounter with Lady Reirus. Agatha admits the situation was unpleasant, though she clarifies that the intruder herself isn't the primary issue. Narration emphasizes the deepening divide between them, visualizing a crack forming between their coordinated public personas. A soft gasp sounds as Agatha clenches her hands, while Enoch looks on with a bead of sweat. Enoch admits his confusion, stating that he doesn't understand why his wife looks so visibly distressed right now.
Agatha challenges him, asking why he thinks she feels this way after their long history together.
Enoch remains silent and stoic, his intense gaze failing to find the right words to comfort his wife.
A frustrated ugh sounds from Chibi Agatha as she firmly rejects any simple fixes given her divorce history.
Enoch wonders if the presence of Lady Reirus has forced Agatha to reconsider her place in his life. A soft slide sounds as Enoch reaches out, his gloved hand moving toward Agatha's face in the dim carriage.
Enoch gently lifts her chin, asking that she look at him instead of avoiding his intense gaze.
A frantic thump-thump sounds as Agatha's heart races, her face heating up from his sudden, intimate proximity. Enoch looks deeply into her eyes, demanding to know what is truly weighing on her heart this evening. Agatha recalls their wedding and many shared moments, questioning if their bond is merely duty or something more. Flashes of Enoch protecting her from threats and danger illustrate the excessive lengths he goes to for her. Back in the carriage, the couple remains locked in an intimate stare, the air thick with unresolved tension. A soft gasp sounds as Agatha looks up at him, her purple eyes wide with realization and fear.
At Baron Dutcher's mansion, the nobles discuss the unusual relationship between the family head and Agatha Nobilis.
A soft rustle sounds as the conspirators identify this moment as the perfect opportunity to strike their enemies. A dark-haired man listens with a cold, calculating expression, ready to exploit the couple's potential emotional vulnerabilities. The conspirators believe that if the marriage is truly romantic, creating cracks between them will be much easier. A sinister smirk sounds as the man declares they have a very good card to play against Enoch. A memory of a sword-wielding man and a dark-haired woman represents the secret weapon they intend to use. A woman with a fan smiles coldly, noting the convenience of Viscount Portonis's death for their new scheme. A soft whoosh sounds outside the window, as the nobles wonder if a woman named Esther will cooperate. The mustache man believes Esther must still have lingering feelings that can be used to manipulate the situation. The dark-haired man confidently takes responsibility for contacting Esther,
certain that their plan to replace Agatha will succeed.
Night falls over the grand mansion as the sinister plot against House Aratus begins to take shape.
A shadow moves behind a door as a woman named Esther gives her cold consent to the plan. Esther, a woman with dark wavy hair and a blue dress, steps into the light with a determined face. A sharp click sounds as the door closes, sealing the deal between the conspirators and their new ally. Back in the carriage, Agatha's face remains flushed with emotion as she processes Enoch's intense and direct questioning. Enoch continues to hold her hand and chin, refusing to break the connection until he has an answer. A sharp flash sounds as their eyes meet once more, highlighting the deep emotional conflict brewing between them. A series of knock-knock sounds go ignored as the carriage arrives, but neither of them is ready to move. A loud bang sounds as Agatha arrives back at the mansion, her entrance formally announced to the marquee. Her heels click-clack sharply against the floor, drawing a surprised and nervous look from the awaiting servant. Agatha looks away in visible distress while Enoch rubs his temple in frustration, cursing the growing emotional distance. Alone in her room, Agatha sits on the bed, noting the late hour and her husband's continued absence. Looking downcast, Agatha softly whispers Enoch's name, her heart heavy with the cold reality of their current situation. Now dressed for the day, Agatha stands tall and resolute as she prepares to face another morning of tension. A soft gasp sounds as the maid announces Agatha's presence, prompting the Marquiness to brace herself for the encounter. Enoch sits alone at the breakfast table, his face a mask of cold indifference as he waits for his wife. Agatha reflects bitterly on how Enoch has stopped using her name in private, effectively drawing a line between them. Approaching the table, Agatha maintains a formal distance, her expression mirroring the frigid atmosphere permeating the dining room. A rhythmic clink-clink sounds as the couple eats in a silence so heavy, even the servants feel the pressure. Agatha's thoughts remain dark as she realizes they have reached the third day of sleeping in separate rooms. Enoch keeps his gaze fixed forward, coolly listing his professional schedule of court meetings and social gatherings for the day. Watching him from across the table, Agatha wonders what she was even expecting from a man so emotionally guarded. Agatha reminds herself that she never intended to ask for love, yet her heart still stings from his rejection. A sharp clink sounds as Agatha cuts her food, wishing she could undo her recent actions, but knowing it's too late. Claiming a need to reorganize the mansion, Agatha hides her face behind a napkin to avoid Enoch's piercing, silent gaze. Without another word, Agatha stands and walks away, leaving her meal unfinished and the tension between them unresolved. Enoch remains seated, his face shadowed by a dark cloud as he processes his wife's sudden and cold departure. Narration emphasizes the oppressive and awkward atmosphere that has completely replaced the brief warmth they once shared. A dull thump sounds as Enoch sits in the quiet room, his mind clearly troubled by the widening chasm. A soft sigh sounds as Enoch looks at his hand, unable to find the words to bridge the gap between them. The phantom image of a dark-haired woman looms behind Enoch, representing the past secrets still haunting his present life. A sudden whoosh sounds as Enoch snaps out of his reverie, his eyes wide with a sudden, sharp realization. When a guard approaches for orders, Enoch delivers a cold and final refusal, his mind elsewhere. A soft swish sounds as Enoch turns his back on everyone, walking away into the vast, lonely halls. The Marquis walks alone through the grand mansion, his silhouette framed by the cold, imposing architecture of his home. A heavy thump-thump sounds as Enoch's mind drifts back 7 years to the blood-stained battlefields of his youth. In the memory, a younger Enoch stands amidst the ruins of war, clutching his swords as embers rain down. Esther, a woman with dark wavy hair and blue eyes, looks up at him with a face full of desperation. Rain splashes down as Enoch coldly orders Esther to leave, showing no mercy to the woman before him. A frantic grab sounds as Esther clings to his arm, pleading for help because her family has utterly fallen. Esther begs for a final chance to stay, but Enoch remains stoic, his heart hardened by the surrounding carnage. Narration reveals Esther was chosen by his relatives, but in her isolation, Enoch only saw his younger sister, Isabel. A sharp stop sounds as Enoch watches Esther from a distance, her lonely figure reminding him of his own family. Recalling his sister left alone in their mansion, Enoch finds himself unable to coldly turn the desperate woman away. Approaching her, Enoch asks if the meager contents of her wooden bowl are truly all she has to eat. Enoch looks down in disgust at the grass porridge, noting that even a dog would refuse such a miserable meal. A soft whoosh sounds as Enoch offers Esther a tent and proper food, causing her face to light up with hope. Enoch reflects that he only let Esther into his circle out of a sense of responsibility as he cleans his sword. As Esther walks away, Enoch continues his duty, unaware of the complex feelings growing within the young woman. A quick look sounds as Esther glances back at the Marquis,
her eyes lingering on him with secret longing.
Esther admits her desire for Enoch to like her, especially given their formal status as an engaged couple.
A sharp click sounds as Enoch dismisses her once her tasks are done, leaving Esther to bow and depart.
Biting her finger in agitation, Esther resolves to find a way to get closer to the Marquis as quickly as possible.
1 month later, the battlefield is littered with arrows and a torn flag, signaling a new and dangerous turn. A soft clink sounds as Esther brings Enoch a meal before a critical battle, urging him to stay strong. A loud crash sounds as the cup falls and shatters, spilling liquid across the floor in a sudden accident.
Esther rushes to replace the broken dish while Enoch reflects on the many unsettling signs he ignored that day.
A sharp flash sounds as dark purple liquid splatters, highlighting the ominous and tragic events that were about to unfold. Enoch recalls the battlefield, realizing too late that Esther had poisoned him before the critical conflict.
Amidst the chaos of war, an enemy knight charges as a younger Enoch prepares for a desperate defense.
A sharp zap sounds as Enoch experiences a sudden paralyzing shock while facing the deadly enemy. Gritting his teeth, Enoch realizes his body won't respond as his gloved hand trembles on his sword.
A soldier shouts a warning as a knight on horseback swings a blade at the immobilized Marquis.
A sharp flash sounds as the enemy's blade comes dangerously close to Enoch's eyes in the heat of battle. Back in the present, Enoch stands alone in his mansion, visibly shaken by the weight of these dark memories. Time passes as the Aratus mansion undergoes a week of extensive organization under Agatha's careful and dedicated management. A soft clink sounds as Agatha and Isabel share tea, surrounded by a spread of elegant desserts and tea. Isabel explains that she has been busy purchasing jewelry and commissioning new dresses for the upcoming social events.
Agatha acknowledges her efforts but remains inwardly concerned about the young woman's readiness for the complex social season. Agatha reflects that true nobility requires sharp discernment and strong social connections, which Isabel currently lacks.
Looking deeply into the distance, Agatha worries that Isabel is still severely lacking in these essential aristocratic skills. Isabel sits quietly at the table, looking downcast as she realizes the immense pressure of the family name.
Agatha breaks the silence, surprising Isabel with an invitation to serve as the second host for their upcoming salon.
Agatha suggests they manage the event together, offering her guidance to help the younger woman navigate high society.
Isabel looks shocked and hesitant, questioning if she is truly capable of hosting such a prestigious and demanding gathering.
Leaning forward, Agatha gently takes Isabel's hand, offering her unwavering support and mentorship for the daunting task ahead. Agatha offers a warm, encouraging smile, hoping to build Isabel's confidence before the arrival of their first guests. A soft tingle sounds as Isabel stares at her sister-in-law, deeply moved by this unexpected gesture of kindness. Night falls over the mansion as Isabel expresses her sincere gratitude for Agatha's consideration and help. A maid informs Agatha that the Abram Orchestra has been secured for the season's highly anticipated first performance.
Agatha considers the various art performances and exhibitions her family must sponsor to maintain their high social standing.
A soft rustle sounds as Agatha reviews her packed schedule, realizing she must make several difficult adjustments immediately. Agatha dismisses concerns about her husband, coldly stating that Enoch will handle his own affairs without her assistance. A soft creak sounds as Agatha prepares for bed, clearly exhausted by the mounting stress and emotional distance.
The maid bows and departs, leaving Agatha alone in the quiet, dim room to face her own thoughts.
Standing by the window, Agatha gazes out at the night, her lonely silhouette framed by the cold iron bars. Agatha pauses as the sound of a distant horse neighing breaks the oppressive silence of the mansion's halls. Narration confirms Enoch's return as the Marquis arrives in the courtyard, accompanied by several of his mounted guards. A soft swish sounds as Enoch looks up toward the mansion, his expression unreadable despite his visible exhaustion.
A frantic thump sounds as Agatha reacts to his presence, her heart racing at the sudden sight of him. Agatha watches from above as Enoch stands amidst his men, the distance between them feeling more physical than ever.
Enoch remains stoic, his gaze fixed forward as he processes the cold reality of his increasingly strained marriage.
The scene shifts to the day of the Aratus Mansion Salon, a grand event held in the sunny gardens.
Agatha warmly welcomes Lady Vanessa to the gathering, maintaining a flawless facade of aristocratic grace and charm. Agatha formally introduces Isabel to the guests, helping the younger woman step into her new role as a host. Lady Vanessa and Isabel exchange pleasantries, both expressing hope for a long and fruitful friendship in the future. The noblewomen settle in for tea, the garden filled with the scent of roses and polite, quiet conversation. A guest asks Agatha if she plans to attend the upcoming performance alongside her husband, the Marquis. Agatha offers a polite smile while inwardly bracing herself for the inevitable and prying questions about her marriage.
Agatha comments that the music will be a delight, expertly steering the conversation away from her personal life.
A butler approaches Agatha with a message, causing her to turn her attention away from the gathered guests. Agatha's eyes widen in surprise as she realizes her husband has made an unexpected appearance at the salon. A rhythmic thump-thump sounds as heavy boots approach the garden, signaling Enoch's arrival to the gathered ladies. Enoch strides through the garden, his presence commanding and his expression unusually intense as he approaches his wife.
A soft whoosh sounds as Agatha quickly looks away, her face flushing with heat from his sudden proximity.
Agatha hides her flustered expression behind her fan as Enoch stops directly behind her, looming over her chair. A sharp click sounds as Enoch places his hand on her seat, cornering Agatha in front of their guests. Despite her racing heart, Agatha maintains her composure, confirming they will successfully manage the day's events together.
A soft step-step sounds as Agatha and Enoch stroll through the garden, their presence surrounded by blooming blue roses.
Agatha steals a quiet glance at Enoch, observing his stoic profile as they walk side by side in silence.
Agatha's purple eyes widen with a sudden spark of surprise, her breath hitching as she processes an unspoken realization.
A soft turn sounds as Agatha asks Enoch what brought him to the salon, her composure wavering slightly under his gaze.
Enoch explains he wished to show his face for her first salon, his voice calm amidst the grand garden backdrop.
Enoch turns his head to look directly at her, his expression remaining unreadable yet focused entirely on his wife. A soft blush colors Agatha's cheeks as she looks away, feeling flustered by the unexpected intensity of her husband's attention.
A soft slide and flinch sound as Agatha's gloved hand brushes Enoch's arm, sending a jolt of nervous energy through her.
Agatha mentions her maid's worries about his attendance, but Enoch firmly vows he would never let her go alone.
A soft snap sounds as Agatha opens her fan, hiding her smile while feeling a deep sense of relief and fortune.
Narration notes that despite Enoch's indifferent exterior, he remains incredibly attentive and devoted to his noble responsibilities and wife.
Agatha admits she considered requesting his presence through the butler, causing a rare, subtle blush to creep onto Enoch's face. A soft slide and kiss sound as Enoch recalls his vow to fight any prince who dares to desire his wife. A soft whisper sounds as Enoch leans close, warning Agatha to never be left alone with the persistent prince.
Agatha inwardly regrets her confession, but outwardly requests Enoch's company for the season's upcoming first musical performance. Enoch speaks Agatha's name softly, his eyes reflecting a hidden well of conflict and pained emotion as he watches her. Enoch clarifies his distance isn't due to dislike, though Agatha sadly concludes he doesn't truly like her either.
A soft turn sounds as Agatha coldly dismisses him, her heart heavy as she tells her husband to leave.
Enoch urges her to wait, promising that he will soon reach a final decision regarding the state of their marriage. Walking away, Agatha looks back to promise she will return to him once her own tangled thoughts are sorted. Agatha suggests they continue their current charade, acting the part of a perfect couple in public whenever duty calls. Agatha's voice drifts back to ask if his decision will take long, her gaze lingering on his ornate uniform. Hiding her face behind her fan, Agatha's eyes betray her lingering affection and embarrassment as she walks away.
A rhythmic click-clack sounds as Agatha departs, leaving Enoch standing alone in the vast, sun-drenched garden. A soft click-clack continues as Enoch remains frozen, his gloved hand trembling slightly with an unspoken urge to reach out. A soft tighten sounds as Enoch clenches his fist, the tension in his body mirroring his inner emotional struggle.
The vast garden salon stands quiet as the distance between the couple grows, framed by the white gazebo and roses.
A soft crunch sounds as Agatha's white shoe crushes fallen blue rose petals, marking her determined path away from him.
Agatha's long blonde hair flows behind her as she retreats, her silhouette radiating a lonely but dignified grace. Agatha transitions back to her guests with a radiant, practiced smile, inquiring about the delightful conversations she missed.
A soft chatter sounds within the grand hall as noble guests mingle, their whispers filling the air with social intrigue.
Inside, noble women gossip about the garden, noting that uninvited visitors are strictly confined to viewing the mansion's first floor. A brown-haired lady watches Agatha intently from behind her fan, her eyes sharp with prying curiosity about the marquee.
A soft flinch sounds as Lady Esther, with long teal hair, watches Enoch through the window with a pained expression.
A soft glance sounds as the brown-haired lady asks Esther what caught her eye, noticing her friend's sudden, visible distress. The ladies observe Enoch standing alone in the distance, wishing they had arrived later to personally greet the handsome marquis.
A soft rub sounds as a gloved hand touches the window pane, tracing the view of the man standing outside.
Lady Esther gazes longingly at the distant figure, her lips silently forming the name of her former love, Enoch. The scene shifts momentarily as the weight of past memories begins to overshadow the current festivities of the salon.
Esther remains transfixed by the window, her heart aching as she observes the lonely aura surrounding the man she lost. Esther questions the rumors of a happy marriage, convinced that Enoch's solitary stance reflects a deep, lingering loneliness for her. A man with short, dark hair suggests Enoch avoids his wife due to lingering feelings for Esther, fueling her hope. A grand, ornate frame surrounds the chilling realization that Esther now has a chance to finally become the Marchioness. A soft flinch sounds as the man reminds Esther of the immense wealth and power she would reclaim with that title. A soft grin sounds as the light-haired man offers his help to keep Esther in the capital to pursue Enoch. A rhythmic thump-thump sounds as Esther's heart races, the once absurd idea of reclaiming her place now feeling dangerously possible. Looking at Enoch's distant form, Esther allows herself to believe that he might truly miss her as much as she does. Esther rationalizes that nobles often separate romance from marriage, resolving to use any means necessary to return to Enoch's side. Esther determines to sever her dark alliances once she succeeds, while her companion asks for clarification on her whispered words. A soft chuckle sounds as Esther offers a serene, deceptive smile, dismissing her dark thoughts as mere trifles to her friend. High noon sun shines over Armand Hall on the highly anticipated day of the grand musical performance. Agatha and Enoch arrive in style, greeted warmly by staff as they step toward the venue's entrance. Director Morales offers a polite bow, assuring the blonde Marquiness that everyone is doing well under her care. The director leads the couple into the hall, his cheerful demeanor contrasting with the pair's quiet, formal presence. Seated together in a private box, Agatha offers her thanks while the director finishes his welcoming duties. On the stage below, the orchestra prepares as the conductor takes his place before the expectant crowd. Agatha gazes toward the stage, noting the brief lull before the evening's musical festivities are set to begin. Seeking a distraction from the heavy silence, Agatha requests that her maid, Jessie, bring her some wine. A soft slurp sounds as Agatha sips her wine, while Enoch watches her with a subtle, unreadable gaze. A soft stop sounds as Agatha pauses mid-drink, her purple eyes reflecting a moment of sudden internal tension. A soft rustle sounds as Agatha observes Enoch's weary face, privately noting that he looks exceptionally exhausted today. Agatha continues sipping her wine while asking if anything out of the ordinary has occurred over the past days. Agatha mentions she will communicate through Ben if further coordination is needed, maintaining their professional marital distance. Looking toward the stage, Agatha addresses Enoch softly, prompting a quiet acknowledgement from the stoic, dark-haired Marquis. Agatha suggests they forego forced conversation since they are away from prying eyes, leaving Enoch in silent contemplation. Agatha feels a sense of relief as the performance finally starts, providing a welcome reprieve from the awkward silence. The couple sits in striking silence, their bodies close but their gazes fixed in entirely different directions. Applauses fill the room as the conductor concludes the piece, signaling the end of the evening's entertainment. A soft clap-clap sounds from the audience as Agatha remains seated, the performance doing little to ease her mind. Feeling a wave of dizziness, Agatha listens as Enoch suggests they begin their journey back home. A soft thud and wobble sound as Agatha loses her balance, her strength momentarily failing her. Enoch reacts instantly, catching Agatha in his arms and pulling her close to prevent her from falling. A soft gasp sounds as Agatha looks up at Enoch, her face flushing as she feels his sudden warmth. A soft tap sounds as Agatha's gloved hand brushes against Enoch's chest, a spark of electricity passing between them. Enoch looks genuinely startled, his stoic mask slipping for a brief second as he holds his wife tightly. A soft flinch sounds as Agatha quickly pulls away, offering a breathless apology for her unexpected loss of composure. Enoch stands tall and regains his cool exterior, though the lingering tension in his gaze remains visible. The couple departs the grand hall together, their silhouettes walking side by side toward the waiting carriages. A soft stare sounds as a brown-haired lady watches the couple's exit with a calculating and suspicious expression. Whispers circulate among the guests as they note that the Marquis and Marchioness no longer appear close. Esther watches the pair from the shadows, her eyes hidden behind her fan as she gathers social ammunition. Esther contemplates the growing rumors of divorce, her gaze fixed on the distance with a look of cold intent. 5 days later at the Aratus estate, the bright sun signals the continuation of Agatha's successful salon series. Guests marvel at Agatha's dedication, wondering how she manages to create a fresh and captivating theme every day. A group of noblewomen admires a stunning painting, captivated by the exquisite taste Agatha has displayed. A soft sounds as Agatha relaxes in the garden, looking serene amidst the blooming flowers and white furniture. Agatha feels a sense of quiet triumph,
pleased that her decision to showcase her personal collection was successful.
A soft swish sounds as Agatha engages with Lady Iris, who remains impressed by the salon's elegance.
Enoch arrives to escort Agatha, his presence at the estate adding to the public display of their union.
A soft rustle sounds as Agatha looks away, her mind wandering back to the heavy weight of their discord.
Agatha realizes that rumors of their distance are spreading through high society, creating an opening for their enemies. Lady Iris reacts with shock and a deep blush at the mention of love, her eyes wide with surprise.
A soft pfft sounds as Agatha lets out a light chuckle, finding the young lady's reaction quite amusing. A soft swish sounds as the pair part ways, Agatha bidding the blushing Lady Iris a pleasant farewell.
Memories of her wedding day flicker in Agatha's mind, a sharp contrast to the current reality of her marriage.
Agatha approaches the knight's tents, inquiring about the Marquise's whereabouts after finding his office empty. A knight informs Agatha that she just missed Enoch, leaving her to wonder if he has gone hunting.
A soft hesitate sounds as Ben looks down, his expression troubled as he searches for the right words.
Ben reveals that a guest arrived to see Enoch, and Agatha instantly senses that something is being hidden. Agatha grows suspicious as Ben avoids eye contact, eventually dismissing the matter while silently questioning who the mysterious visitor is.
Agatha decides to take a walk while waiting, the sunlight filtering through the dense green canopy above.
Accompanied by her maid and guards, Agatha strolls through the woods, her presence marked by rhythmic footsteps.
Agatha notes Enoch's absence and intends to settle matters, while a guard reacts with sudden surprise behind her.
A soft swish sounds as Agatha turns, her attention caught by an unexpected sight in the secluded forest. A soft rustle sounds as Agatha spots Enoch alone with Esther, wondering why they are meeting in secret. A rhythmic thump-thump sounds as Agatha's heart sinks, her eyes wide with shock at the intimate-looking scene.
Esther appears distraught and tearful, her hands clasped in a desperate plea toward the stoic Marquis.
Agatha realizes Esther is the mysterious guest, understanding why the servants were so hesitant to speak earlier. A soft flinch sounds as Agatha tells Marie to investigate the woman, leaving her guards visibly nervous behind her. Leon attempts to explain the situation, but Agatha firmly silences him, claiming she already knows the truth. Sir Leon tries to defend the Marquis, yet Agatha remains cold, her face shadowed by deep, burgeoning resentment. Agatha questions if the guards are spies, securing their silence regarding this encounter, unless Enoch directly asks.
Leon reluctantly agrees to keep the secret, his head bowed in submission to the Marchioness's authoritative demand. A soft swish sounds as Agatha walks away, leaving her escort behind as she retreats in icy silence. A soft glance sounds as Enoch senses another presence, his sharp gaze cutting through the surrounding foliage.
Esther addresses Enoch directly, her expression full of longing as she stands before her former lover. Esther pleads for forgiveness, claiming she was forced by her relatives to act against him under death threats.
A soft gulp sounds as Esther expresses her deep regret, wishing she had been honest 7 years ago.
Enoch remains unmoved, coldly demanding that Esther spare him the personal details of her past excuses. Esther falters, her voice trembling as she mentions having something important to reveal about a current threat. Esther reveals that Baron Datcher recently approached her, adding a new layer of intrigue to the situation. A dark memory surfaces of Baron Datcher, his sinister expression reflecting the shadows of a past betrayal. Esther claims the Baron threatened her life unless she cooperated with his latest scheme against the Aratus family. Enoch watches her with growing disdain, convinced that Esther is merely lying to manipulate his lingering feelings. Enoch reflects on Esther's past behavior, questioning if she was always this deceitful and calculated.
A soft gulp sounds as Enoch sees through her mask, finding her current desperation more pitiful than persuasive.
A soft ha sounds as Enoch laughs mockingly, his patience completely exhausted by her repetitive lies. Enoch finally understands the vast difference between Agatha's genuine heart and the hollow deceit of the woman before him. Looking at the flowers, Enoch acknowledges his true feelings for Agatha, realizing she is the one he loves. Enoch confirms to himself that Agatha is unique, her purity standing in stark contrast to his past regrets. Esther tries to protest, but Enoch asserts he will deal with his traitorous relatives on his own terms. Esther screams in despair as Enoch rejects her again, accusing him of abandoning her just like years ago. A soft chill and pause sound as Enoch reveals the truth. Esther poisoned him with her own hands. A soft snap and click-clack sound as Enoch spots a hidden intruder, ordering Esther to stand aside immediately. A soft shring sounds as Enoch draws his sword, ready to face the spy lurking in the bushes. A soft thud sounds as Enoch corners a man, his blade held at the terrified intruder's throat. A soft flash sounds as Enoch demands the man bring all the conspirators forward to face his wrath.
A soft tremble sounds as Enoch threatens a gruesome fate for those who plotted his poisoning years ago. A soft dash and click sound as the messenger flees, Enoch sheathing his blade with cold efficiency. Esther watches in horror, but Enoch turns his icy gaze on her, declaring she is also finished.
A soft boom sounds as Enoch declares there will be no exceptions, leaving Esther paralyzed with fear.
A soft click-clack sounds as Enoch walks away, leaving the forest and the remnants of his past behind. Enoch realizes someone else was watching earlier, fearing that rumors of his meeting with Esther will spread.
A soft chill sounds as Enoch's thoughts drift to Agatha, his desire to see her overshadowing his anger.
Resolving to find his wife, Enoch prepares to mend the bridge he nearly burned with his silence.
Enoch resolves to speak first, intending to apologize and finally tell Agatha that his heart belongs to her.
A soft freeze sounds as Ben reports that Agatha arrived, waited, and left in a suspicious hurry.
Enoch stares in shock, realizing Agatha witnessed his meeting and likely misinterpreted everything she saw.